Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Yes, and we're live. Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the Whitfield Report. Hail to the chat. Tonight's guest, without further ado, just jumping into it, is Nick from 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. I think that's the channel name at least. But anyway, welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm thankful to be on here. It's always nice to meet other faces from around the world. I'm ready to chat. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. I just had some technical difficulties before we began, but other than that, I can't complain too much. It's a Saturday night here. Everyone's kind of chilling out. No one watches SNL anymore. They watch streams like this one on Saturday. So, it's pretty good. Hail to Pope Metallic is coming in here saying, "Look at this beautiful panel."
Right.
Pope's been great to us. I had just another red shirt on last week, and he was awesome. So,
Good dude.
we actually got a face reveal from just another red shirt
I've seen this before, but for you,
last
that's
week.
real.
Yeah. So. But anyway, so just to kind of start off, how did you get started in streaming? Whenever I interview other podcasters or streamers or whatever it's called, I love to always ask this.
hmm Okay, well, I'm gonna be very upfront with you, as I am with everyone else, Sam. There is no such thing as the long story short of this. There's only the long story and the long story. So as long
I've
as you
got
yourself, I'm in.
I've got 3 hours, so where do you want to start?
All right, well, we'll start with this. So the very blueprints of this dates back many years. So many years ago, I was doing show reviews, like live music show reviews for this company called Digital Tour Bus. They had, they were a columnist page and a YouTube channel simultaneously at the same time. I did the live show reviews. I was really enjoying it. I was having a great time. I was being on guest lists, reviewing the shows. It was a good time. I was doing it for a few years for another guy. It was a blast, and I got a lot of experience, made a lot of connections from it. And then the dad life happened, and that kind of like I was like, you know what? I think I need to lay off this and be a little bit more focusing on parenthood for a few years. And now that the children have definitely got some years on them, there's opportunities to be a little bit more active in activities again, aka hobbies. And I knew I wanted to do something on my own name anyways, even though I had stopped doing the digital tour bus stuff. I knew I wanted to do something on my own, but I just didn't know what, the how. It's just like, it's like saying I want to start my own business, but how do I do it? Where do I do it? So the idea was like just kind of like, running around in my head. I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I name it? What do I want to talk about? How do I start this? And I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And then I was one day just looking at some YouTube videos, and the very first guy I discovered was Young Ripa, Eric July, and he blew my mind. Like he absolutely Ripa, like I just it's the fact I heard that guy and his voice, and I was listening more of his comic book based stuff because he was talking about like the controversies with like Captain Marvel stuff like that, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy he gets it. Like he gets where I've been trying to like form these thoughts about the weirdness and all the like oddities around the Captain Marvel movie. And he summed it up, and I'm I couldn't believe a voice like that existed because I felt like I guess I was in an echo chamber because I came from Chicago at the time, and Chicago is a very super hard leftist echo chamber.
Oh,
And it wasn't
yes.
how I was like, it wasn't that I was right or left. I guess you could say I was just very apolitical. And the echo chamber runs so deep that you don't even know what another ideology is like, whether that's in an intentional way or unintentional. It was just I couldn't believe I heard Eric July sucked. It blew my mind. So then I did the whole rabbit hole thing. I was looking at all his comics videos, and then I was looking out at the political videos he did. And he talked about libertarianism, and I was really. I see Rifter says report to tell Nick his phone sounds weird. My phone, my phone sounds weird.
Uh, yeah, I'm starting to hear a little bit of static coming from your microphone a bit. I think it's on here. Let me try muting myself real quick. See if that.
I actually don't
Uh,
hear anything.
yeah, there's a little bit of static coming from your end. I mean, it's not that bad for me, but that's because I have headphones, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's a little bit muffled. Hang on, let me see if that's me. It could be.
Well, they're saying it's me since they're the ones that I'm the one who's speaking. So I
Oh,
mean, I hear you fine, so it's gotta be me. It's just I'm trying to think. All right, let me leave and come back in.
okay. Okay, yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was him. Anyway, though, folks, thanks for tuning in. Lots of new yet familiar faces in chat. We have whiskey. We have just another red shirt. We have Warfist, 1984. Um, and okay, Nick was able to come back in. Good.
Check, 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 check. How do I?
Okay, yeah, you're coming in much clearer now.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, chat. Can we get a thumbs up or F or I don't know what your symbol is. Just do I sound okay? So do I sound okay
Yeah,
for Sam?
yeah, yeah, you sound pretty good on my
All
end.
right. Okay.
Chat says it's perfect now. Whiskey says way better. So yeah, we're good.
Nice name, Whiskey Runner One. Nice name. I like it. All right. Anyways, back where we left off the story. So Eric July is discovering the libertarian stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. This is great. I couldn't believe what I was listening to, and it was just really cool. It was just like, holy crap, like men like this exist. I loved it. And then I kept listening on for a bit. And then he did a For Canon's Sake podcast with Nerdrotic. And I didn't know who Gary was at the time. So I was like, oh, let's listen to see what's all this about. And I listened to Gary's story about the comic shop and all that stuff. And I thought, oh wow, that's a really, really cool story. And then they were talking about how Ripa is gonna be a guest on Friday Night Tights later that week. I'm like, huh, that's a cool name, Friday Night Tights. I should look into that. I'm usually out doing stuff on Friday night, but maybe I should stay home and see what this is because that name really stuck out to me. Obviously, because Friday Night Lights and their rock, I
Right.
can tell you he's a comic book fan, so they got the tights because of that. So I'm like, I'll check it out. And so I stayed home that Friday night. It was perfect because children were going to bed, and I was watching FNT and I saw all these names like Comics Division, and I saw Odin's movie blog, Jeremy and Ryan from Geeks and Gamers, and like it was just like the floodgates had opened. I'm like, holy crap! As also from Heel versus Babyface, I was just like, where have all these people been in my life? I couldn't believe it. I was just like, did I just like unlock another side of the universe? I couldn't believe it. And then like my brother came back to the state from being in a long-standing relationship from Seattle, and he had showed me Steven Crowder, he had showed me Joe Rogan, and he showed me Tim Pool, and I started looking into a lot of these things. I was really into a lot of the not just the material what was being said, but also I was into just the idea of talking on shows, podcasts, reviews, and then it kind of clicked in my head. That's it. I want to do a YouTube channel. And then that was around probably summer or fall 2019. I knew right then there I want to do a YouTube channel. That was when I knew right then, okay, that's it. YouTube channel. Now I'm like, okay, how and when and what do I want to talk about? Where do I start? Is anyone going to listen to me? You do all the second guessing. And I thought about, what? I'm going to talk about pizza. I'm going to talk about movies. I'll talk about some of the current stuff in the world going on. That's okay. I know what I want to talk about. But then all of a sudden, it was like, okay, when do I want to start and where? And I was just like, crud, what do I do about this? And all of a sudden, once again, I'm trying to get past my own mental block. And then the whole government response to the China virus happened. And then right when that response happened with the lockdowns, I thought to myself, okay, Nick, you need to start this channel now, like now or never. Because if you're putting off now, this is the golden opportunity to start this. So I had bought a brand new desktop, which I'm currently using, a webcam, microphone, and it was off to the races. I was doing a few videos for a few months, and it was strictly just videos, 1 or 2 a week, sometimes 3. And I had heard for months at that point, I've been doing videos for months. And then I was constantly hearing them talk about super chats and live chats. I decided to actually look into the live chat of, I think, Friday Night Tights feed. I was seeing all these funny, cool names in the chat. I'm like, look at all these people. It's like they know each other and they're all like friends, like they already know each other. I'm just like, I guess I should just say something. So I just kind of did. I would chime in here and there, and then a few weeks went by. And then, like, I just decided, like, okay, somewhere on here, there's someone who's listening who's a streamer. I'm just gonna put my name out there and hope that somebody responds. And Justin and Retro know who this is. I wrote in the chat, hey, I'm a new guy, new to the party. I'm looking to get on a stream with someone. If anyone on here is looking, that'd be great. And this guy named Jake D was like, he immediately tagged my name in the live chat. Said, hey, dude, I'm looking for people. Go to my YouTube page, shoot me an email. And he used to do a Sunday evening stream called Howling About Entertainment. And I messaged him. We chatted for a little bit, and then I got on there, and then I was a regular on there for quite a bit. And then came the neurotic member streams. And I was like, holy crap. Am I going to actually do this? I'm actually going to talk with Gary and a bunch of people I don't know. I guess we're going to do that. So I went on and I met all these people, and I couldn't believe it. And I met Paulie Latino Slant. I met Club Times. It just blew my mind. And before I knew it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, I'm interacting with all these people. It was just like I'm meeting people from around the world. It's just everything in my mind is processing a lot. I'm going through a lot in these few months, processing. Like it's kind of like that song in Aladdin when Jasmine says a whole new world. It really was. It was exciting. It was all scary, but it was the most exciting thing. I couldn't believe this was all real. It shows you how shadow banning is so real when all this stuff is unlocked. But
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that I was able to catch a rip of video. Also, that my brother came back to Illinois and showed me these other things as well. So, yeah, more names that happen. The rest is pretty much history. That's the start of the channel and the origin story per se.
So you were kind of apolitical, and then I don't want to say you got red pilled necessarily, but you got. I mean, would that be an accurate description, or how would you kind of? Because I mean, I've watched some of your stuff, and it seems like you've kind of gone from apolitical to now. I mean, I don't even want to say that you're right wing, because anyone who gets, anyone who isn't woke gets kind of put into that box. But I guess now you're more aware of stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, see, when I started the videos, I just didn't touch that stuff. I was paying attention to things. I just didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it at all. That was my thing, and I still try not to talk about it a lot on my YouTube stuff. I definitely cover a lot more of that type of I guess you could say political content. I do cover a bit of it on BitChute, because I have now 3 BitChute exclusives. So I started covering the political rounds a lot more on there exclusively. That way I can literally say whatever I want. But my first the Air July stuff was definitely, like, I guess you could say that was the first turn in the right direction. But the first thing that sounded the alarm was I was watching the Joe Rogan episode where it was Tim Pool and Jack Dorsey. And what interested me, it was the fact that Tim Pool was a moderate left leaning guy. And here he was putting Jack Dorsey, the CEO at the time of Twitter, in his place. And obviously, I know people have their opinions on Tim. He's obviously a bit of a fencer, but I think in a way it kind of works out for him because he doesn't lean too far one way. So he sees things a bit moderately. Some things I agree with him, some things I don't. But that particular stream, I felt like he knocked it out of the park. And that to me, when I saw that entire thing and the way he was laying the smackdown on Dorsey, the first thing to my mind was, how is this not everywhere being talked about? How is this not ever? Because you saw how flawed Dorsey was and how he runs Twitter, the vague wording, and I was just like, how is this not being talked about? I didn't understand it. And I started, catching on more and more when I started paying attention, like the Crowder changed my mind stuff. I was just like, holy crap. And of course, there's more of the Rogan stuff, but then there's the Air July stuff. And then Razor Fist was a big one too. Razor Fist was a huge one. Who else was a big name for me? Thomas Sowell. I was reading some of his stuff and Anatomy of the State from Murray Rothbard. That's a great book. He's an economist. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
when I was really, I guess I'll say it. I'm very red pilled. It's hard to say what way I do. I mean, I guess you could say I lean more right than left, but I've had people call me liberal before. It's happened, and I've had people call me alt-right. I don't really care what people call me. It doesn't really, I don't get worried. I'm like, oh no, this person called me alt-right. What am I gonna do about it? I don't care. I mean, I think there's some good ideas both ways, but I think there's more better ideas on the right overall. I'll just say that.
Yeah, alt-right is kind of a catch-all. So, for
Mm-hmm.
me, so I started podcasting when I was, oh gosh, probably 14, and this was back in like 2008, like very early 2009. And back then, like, podcasting was literally just you stuck a microphone in front of your, face, plugged into your computer, and you talked. It wasn't like live streaming at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like, YouTube was still in its infancy at that time. And I mean, I was one of those guys that was always kind of like a history and politics nerd
Mm-hmm.
in high school and junior high at that time. So I kind of figured that would be my niche. And then, but I was also always a big like comic book collector.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, because people didn't really know what podcasting was, like, I would always describe it as an internet radio show. So I just kind of kept on doing it for a while. And then probably, after I graduated from high school, my initial goal was to try and get like a job in AM radio. But essentially, what ended up happening was, radio kind of started to die off, and all of the local stations started getting bought off. And I was essentially told that without a 4-year degree in broadcasting, I wouldn't be able to get on. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I've already been doing broadcasting for years. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I so then I moved from Colorado to Florida and kind of continued the podcast, and that was when podcasting really took off as its own medium, and
Mm-hmm.
that was when I kind of found that was when I found Eric July, and I was kind of like, well, that's neat. There's a guy who's a libertarian and a comic book guy at the
Right. It's a perfect mixture.
I I'm like I'm like I'm like this guy is essentially just the black version of me
Mm-hmm.
somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed him, and then a couple a couple of years later, really during the pandemic, my co-host, Apex Gamma, who is on leave right now, he's dealing with some family issues. He actually turned me on to the Critical Drinker.
Oh,
Will
great
Will
channel.
Will Jordan, and because of the Critical Drinker, I can't even remember like what video I saw of his. I think it was like one of his reviews of The Last Jedi, and he was, I watched like a bunch of his videos, and then in the recommended they had Gary, and my first thought about Gary was, well, who's this guy from ZZ Top? Who's the ZZ Top villain? So I started to watch him, and he actually kind of became, one of my favorites. So I subscribed to the members, thing, and I think, that was actually how you and I initially came into contact. Was I think we've been in a few members chats together, maybe,
Maybe, yeah.
which is pretty interesting. But so yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting journey, because like I'm a guy who I started off in the political realm, but then I kind of came into the whole culture realm with comic books and whatnot, at least commentating on it, and now other people are kind of doing the reverse. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
We're getting a good cross mix, but it's interesting that you brought up Twitter and Jack Dorsey, because I'm sure you've seen Elon just bought out a 9.2. He now has like a 9% share of Twitter, which basically means he's on the board now. So I'm curious, do you think that will really change anything, or what are just kind of your thoughts on that in general?
Obviously, in a perfect world, I'd like for that to be a sign of change. I mean, I see what Elon is saying, obviously, on there, and it sounds like he's saying the right things, I guess you could say. Now it's just a matter of doing the right things. Even if he does the right things, it's going to be a bit these type of things that when there's always a transition involved, there's always several months to a year involved. So I'm not going to wake up and expect something to be different tomorrow. Now, if that happened, obviously that'd be great. But it's just I watch how history plays out with things, and this is something I don't see happening instantaneously. But boy, would I love to see things. No, I've heard people say, "Oh, hey, how about an edit button?" Or how about bringing back so and so? And I get that too. I do. I get that. I personally, if I could see anything, if Elon said, Nick Weiser, what would you like on me from Twitter? I'd say, Elon, why don't you show us how this algorithm on Twitter works? I want to see the bare
Yeah.
bones of it. I want to see how does this process work? Who are they propping up? Who are they deplatforming? I want everything unveiled. I mean, yeah, once again, it would be cool to have some names back. It would. I mean, it'd be fun to have Alex Jones and the globalists talk, but I want to see more how this thing works, because I want receipts to show that are you really saying that the system is legitimate, or are you messing with us? Because I truly believe that there's a lot of things that they do to manipulate algorithms and such. Because like when you look at like the trending thing on Twitter, when it goes like from 1 through 10, you think, okay, number 1 should be the thing that's the most talked about. Sometimes I've looked down at the list like number 11, and that has a lot more tweets or talks or trends, whatever you want to call it, than what's number 1. And it's just like, and then there are times where something will skyrocket up to number 1, and then it'll knock it back down to like 15, and you'll still see number 15 getting talked about a lot more than whatever's the top 5. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And especially then, of course, how I saw Jack Dorsey on Joe Rogan. That was another thing. I saw between that, I'm like, there's something going on here. And the fact that also, like, I'll put it this way, on my BitChute, I have only like 12 subscribers on my BitChute. However, my videos always land in the algorithm. They always get views, and that's awesome. I love it. It's great with BitChute. I mean, obviously there's some issues as far as it being a little bit of an echo chamber. I just wish BitChute had the reach of the normie audience, because if you put the normie audience in front of BitChute could go all the way with it. And it's great because, like I said, it's a very simple platform to use. I can upload videos very easily, thumbnails very easily. If only they just had that mainstream appeal. But at least I'm not worried about being shadow banned, and at least I don't have to worry about what I say as well. Like, I could say statements about certain things in 2020 and not worry about it. So there is that advantage. So there's a lot of great features, and honestly, I've been meaning to do exclusives, but their video uploading process is a pain and a half. So once I get to there will be Odyssey exclusives as well. But yeah, either way though, BitChute, why is it that I'm getting all these views and I only have like 12 subscribers? And then like YouTube, like there will be times that it's the opposite. And then I see Pulp Medalicus saying, he says, I know you and Wes want me back on Twitter. I'm glad he mentioned Wes, because Wes Moody is someone who is super, super duper shadow banned on YouTube. And my buddy Vigilante Williamson, he's super blacklisted. Look his name up on like Google.
Yeah,
And it's so messed up. It doesn't come up with proper results. But if I type Vigil's name, even on DuckDuckGo, even if I use Brave or pre-search, Vigilante Williamson will come up right away. But if I type Vigilante Williamson on Google, no, not going to happen.
Well, the weird thing too is like with Twitter, and I know that like Whiskey will can attest to this, and so will O'Keefe and Warfist and a few of the others. Unless I tag them on Twitter, they can't see my tweets. Like they rarely come up in the timeline, and and vice versa. There are a bunch of people on Twitter, and you're one of them, where I literally have to turn on tweet notifications for every time one of you guys tweets, because otherwise I'm not going to see, or I'm rarely going to see any of your tweets on Twitter. I mean, I'm kind of, it's funny. I've never really been. I was banned once for like 12 hours. I've never been like permabanned or anything. Knock on wood. But I mean, I might as well be screaming into a void on Twitter, because they're just not pushing my stuff out there, which was funny because when I first joined back in like 2011, Twitter was initially how I grew my show. And back then, like, you could pretty much say whatever, like, as long as you weren't like threatening people, or doing anything like, really serious, you could get away with pretty much anything.
And that's fine though. And I'm glad you mentioned Sam. And I get it. Like every company does have to have their limits. Like I get it. Like everyone and anywhere at any place is going to have their rules or their terms and conditions. I get that. That's fine, because we don't want people to actually fight each other or physically harm each other over senseless stuff. I get that. But when you say, well, what we interpret or what we imagine as harmful content, it's just like, okay, but what's harmful content? You need to define to me what is harmful content, because it's just like, are you, and they don't list specifics. And it's just like, so you're just saying, well, on this day, I imagine that. Or what if someone at Twitter says, oh, no, that's not a big deal, but the guy right next to him says, oh, that's very bad. Like, that's the problem. It's so open-ended, and you got different mindsets interpreting things however they perceive it. And you got what? I think Twitter's company, they have like around 3,000 workers, something like that. You have 3,000 workers that can control the thoughts and opinions of what millions can see. And that's a really weird thought to process. And that's the same thing with Facebook, same thing with Google. And Parler like had a chance, but they really messed it up when they had joined Amazon for their server. They had the right idea, But to think Amazon, they could trust Amazon was the wrong idea. Because the quartering, best example. Parlor was fresh, hot, and ready, straight out of the oven, like a Little Caesars $5 ready to go pizza. And the quartering, right out of the bat, had more followers on Parlor in a few months than he did his lifetime on Twitter. The quartering. He has 1 million subs on YouTube. Huge, huge. And he had already destroyed his number from in a few months that he did over years on Twitter. But then obviously the Amazon thing happened and they got nixed. And that was right when Parler was starting to gain traction. Like, it's unfortunate that they trusted the wrong company, because had they had either done something on their own or went through someone else, they may have never have lost that traction. And for all we know, we could be having a different conversation right
Well,
now on them being a legitimate competitor.
well, to be fair, though, I think the other thing with Parler is they were kind of a canary in the coal mine when it came to that, because Amazon Web Services up to that point had kind of been seen as, I guess, neutral as far as I know. They hadn't really done anything like suspended services. But like one of the platforms that I've been using, speaking of platforms, and I just saw that you tagged me on there is Minds, and
Yes. Yes,
Minds
I do use
is
mines.
Minds is actually one of the best platforms I've used in terms of like it's like a good fusion of Facebook and Twitter. So the only problem is like more people need to get on there.
Yes.
So because like I've got good reach, but it's not as good as like my Twitter
Hmm.
you know thing still. So um anyway, though, getting back to some of your content, you said that you um do like pizza commentary. How does that work?
Okay, so how that happens. When I was getting into YouTube, discovering guys like Young Ripa, Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder, all the names per se, I discovered Barstool Sports. Once I got another company that could credit my younger brother, who used to be in the military, by the way. He discovered all these things when he was in the army. And he'd say, "Hey, have you heard of Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports?" I was like, "Who are you talking about?" And then I looked into it and I'm like, okay, they're a sports company like an ESPN, but an alternative. And not just an alternative, but a good alternative. But then I discovered Dave Portnoy, the CEO, and he would go around the country, and he still is to this very day, doing pizza reviews. And like when me and my girlfriend first met, we were watching Dave Portnoy videos every single day, and that really that kind of lit a fire in me to like do pizza reviews and talk about pizza more. And I was already a giant pizza fanatic, and her and I got to get back on the Dave Portnoy wagon watching those videos, but not to veer off in that. But I'm a pizzaaholic. Like, I have it every week, sometimes several times a week. I've worked at many pizza joints. I've done delivery. I worked at the cooking. I sucked at making pizzas. The irony. But one of the last places I ever worked at was a pizzeria. I ate pizza every single week. I worked there for 2.5 years. I remember the boss there was like, "Mikio, you really love pizza." I was just like, "Yeah," because you've heard the age-old story of, "Oh, I don't eat the food at the place that I work at." Well, I ate food at the place I worked at, and I did it every week. I'm in love with pizza.
And you being from Chicago, I mean, I have to ask, which is better, New York style or Chicago deep dish? In your or can you not answer? Are a bunch of Chicagoans gonna come up and like beat your ass if you answer? Or
I personally don't care what my stance is. I'll say things, and there's always be someone who's gonna be unhappy with it. So I'll have any opinion, and I don't back away from it, whether it's political, food based, music based, comic book based. Um, Only had the Chicagoized New York pizza. Like, there's a New York pizzeria joint in Chicago, but that's made in Chicago. I need to have it made in New York by New Yorkers, and then I can have that opinion. And like, I've got a few buddies, in Brooklyn. I've got a few guys in Queens. I need to go down to the NYC and try pizza out there, and then I will have a better opinion. And I've got guys who all say, "You come down here, Nick, and we'll set you up." So it's just now it's a matter of me going down to the East Coast and making that happen. So one day it'll happen. So as for now, I can only say I've had Detroit pizza though. I did enjoy that. That's where they do the square shape, the thick
Yeah,
rising crust. They got the sauce on top. I do enjoy Detroit. Oh, Detroit's good.
yeah. No, I've never had Detroit style pizza. One of the other rabbit holes I've gone down.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I actually, for some reason, I think that this guy and Gary would be a good collaboration. There's a cooking YouTube channel I follow called Sam the Cooking Guy, and
Okay.
he does like all these recipes, but he's kind of like your crass uncle or your crass dad from much. And he did this one video on like Detroit style pizza, and I was like, wait, Detroit has its own style pizza, and it
Yeah.
it was it was pretty interesting to say the least.
You know who else has a pizza? Connecticut does.
Oh yeah, I know they
Big
do. My
deal. New Haven style. My buddy, you may have seen him in the chats. He's one of my pals on Toxic Tuesday, Mark D with the C. Great guy, great channel, by the way. Shout out to Mark D with the C.
Is he
Yeah,
here?
he's in Connecticut. He's in Connecticut. He lives down there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's where my mom is originally from. Actually,
Whoa.
is in fact she's a UConn alumni.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah. Um. So yeah. I mean, we could go on rants about pizza all day.
Dude, I could go 3 more hours on pizza.
Unfortunately, there's not a good pizza place. Well, I mean there's one good pizza place here in Florida, but it's not as good as some of the
Oh,
newer.
yeah, you're in Florida. No, hold up. Dave Portnoy, I got to dig the receipts, but Dave Portnoy has been in Florida. He actually found a few good places. I'm going to have to dig for those ones he gave a good review, and now I got to send them your way.
Please do, because I found a good wings place the other day, which I think will make whiskey runner happy. I finally found a good wings place down here the other day. But
Nice.
yeah. So it's funny because chat kind of, I was going to ask you about this. You and I have something in common, which is, well, we have multiple things in common, but one of the other things we have in common is we have both been banned from Discord.
I banned myself.
Really,
I banned myself.
so so you just left Discord, really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude!
Oh,
Once I
okay.
saw their change of terms and service, I'm like, bro, they make Twitter look like a walk in the park. I couldn't believe it, like with Discord, and it sucked because, like, I wasn't super active on it, but I liked it. I had it, and I use it moderately, and it was very convenient. But once I saw what they did, I'm like, dude, this is beyond absolutely psychotic. And then I once again the quartering. He had posted a video about how he had left Discord and he had moved over to Gilded, and he had said he already had 5,000 plus followers, and that it works just as great as Discord, but without all the big tech involvement. Now, obviously, that could change. That could. I mean, I hope it doesn't. I hope that everything maintains. But I really like what I saw with Gilded, and I'm like, you know what? I made a account on Discord. I barely used it. Maybe Gilded should be the moment where I actually look into it, see what it's about, and see how it functions. If I really actually commit to it, this would be like, it's like obviously it's like running a message board basically, but with your account through a
Yeah.
big outlet. And I was like, okay, this is actually kind of fun. Now I've got almost 60 members on my Gilded, and it's great. Like I'll work a full day at work, not check, and I'll come home And I'll look at, I'm like, wow, look at all the chatting that was going on while I was gone. I love it. It's like it's a little community, a club of my friends, people, whether they're subscribers or whether they're fellow streamers, they're all there and they're all chatting on Gilded. I love it. It's such a great thing.
Yeah, and by the way, so I started a Gilded server of my own. However, I haven't announced it yet because I was working out a few bugs in it, but I will post the link in chat. So if you guys want to join, because yeah, I mean my chat kind of knows this story, but I got banned from Discord probably about like I want to say 2 years ago.
Oh, you
Around
better tell me.
okay, so I don't know if you know who Gavin McGinnis is,
Oh yeah.
but
I know who he is.
so I was in Gavin McGinnis's Discord server, and for
Mhm.
and honestly, and I mean for the regulars, I apologize. I know you guys have heard this story a few times, but like honestly, it wasn't really that much of like a political community. Like we would all basically just like get together and just like talk like life shit and whatnot.
Mhm.
Like very like non. And then right around the time of the George Floyd riots, for whatever reason, they decided that for whatever reason, Gavin was responsible for, I guess George Floyd's death, or like partially responsible. So, Reddit shut down his community subreddit, and then basically, I was in the middle of a conversation with everyone on um in Discord VC, and
Mhm.
basically I got shut. Me and everyone else in that Discord just got like perma banned.
Mhm.
Apparently, and the worst part of it is when they sent like an email regarding like termination. They said that it was we were inciting hate speech, but they never like cited a specific example.
Mhm.
So, and
There you go.
then,
That big wordplay again. See what I mean? The fuck.
well, and then I started like another, I started like another Discord account, and that one I got like suspended for sexual harassment. And I don't even know what that, don't even ask me like what, that one
So
was.
they didn't give you a specific on what was the sexual harassment. They just said sexual harassment and just take our word for it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just how I think it might have been, because I said something along the lines of like, and I'm just guessing. I made like I made like a joke that like that like, well, Trump's mistresses are hotter than Bill Clinton's or something. I'm
Okay.
I'm thinking that that's what it was,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure. Even if that's the
See, Sam, that's where the issue. Because what if you had said that Clinton, or the vice versa of Clinton over Trump? Would that have been up and no issue? Like that, I feel like it would have been like, oh hey, it's so good. He's talking down on Donald Trump and people who are connected to Donald Trump. So of course we're gonna keep that up. It says like this sexual harassment, hate speech, all these terms, these buzzwords, they don't have any substance to back them up. Like what if I like posted a poll, like, or not even a poll, just what if I wrote I hate Donald Trump, and all of a sudden I get like all these likes and everyone's all good and dandy. But if I wrote I hate Joe Biden, and then all of a sudden Twitter flags me and says, or even Discord says, you are promoting hate speech. It's just like, is this hate speech or is it not? Is it
the
hate? And that's this is the issue where we have it's the lack of consistency. There's, if you're gonna say hate speech. You need to define what it is, how it is, and mean it. Like, commit to it. If you're gonna say, don't say you hate someone, then commit to it. Don't just say, well, we want you to hate this person, but not this person. Because now even Jack Dorsey, as of this week, is now seeing someone who he advocated for get banned on Twitter. Now Jack obviously he don't run Twitter no more. He has a share in it. He has stock involved, but now he's seeing what happens when people he advocates for get the ban too. And now
Well,
Dorsey is now at the mercy and like not literally his own channel, but his own account, but people who he was a fan of now getting the hit. And now it's just like now he's gonna see what it feels like when that happens. I'm not saying I wish that upon him or people connected to him, but now he's seeing what it's like when that happens. Like I don't know how much he actually paid attention to Twitter and when he was running. And I get it. Nothing's gonna be perfect. You're not gonna get like a dream world where everything is absolute. I get that, but at least give it a valiant effort at trying to make things line up and be consistent. But it doesn't seem like they want to do that. They want to, and that's why I don't reason with these extreme leftists. I don't try to. Like anyone who's trying to reason with them, you're wasting time because you're not. You maybe talk to them, but to them, you're not talking to them. To them, you are fighting them. To them, you are the enemy that they've been told to fight against. Well, they've been indoctrinated, brainwashed, whatever the word you want to call it. Everything that they were told about, you are that picture that they have interpreted as a villain.
Well, I don't know if you saw this. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yep, I can pull it up here. Hold on a sec. Because as it turns out, ironically, Jack himself is now getting censored on.
Jack himself?
Yeah, from what I understand, yeah, he's getting okay. Huh. It's saying it doesn't have my permission to share screen. BS, it does.
Everything all right there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for some reason Chrome is saying it can't share my screen. I don't know why, because it should be able to. But anyway. But yeah, I guess one of the like the Bitcoin websites that Jack is trying to promote got like banned off YouTube.
I saw that. I saw that. That was a thing he was connected to.
Yeah. Well, and then I mean I've also heard rumors that like he was like trying to start like a Wild West version of Twitter, which
Yep, I heard that too. Go on.
Which I mean I think would have been great. And like, look, I'm not saying that like Jack is perfect, and I mean I'm not a fan of his. I know that people in chat here aren't either, but I do kind of find it a little bit interesting and somewhat humorous that like the shoe is kind of on the other foot now, and sense in the fact that he's being, like now he's. I mean, and I don't even know like how much. It doesn't really seem like he was really aware of how much censorship was going on.
Yeah, I don't think he was. After watching him on Tim Pool, and not between that, because when I saw him on Tim Pool, I thought, sorry, not Tim Pool, Joe Rogan talking to Tim Pool. I'm like, this guy's a moron. How is this guy the CEO of this big industry? I couldn't fathom it. This guy, I feel like when he speaks, he should be sharp, well-spoken, articulate, and he didn't do any of that. He just seemed like a regular Joe Schmo type of guy. And I see him now seeing what it's like to be on the other side of things. And it's like, yeah, it's humorous for 5 minutes, but at the same time, it's just like, dude, you had a chance to stop this. You were told about this. And this is what drove me crazy with the Ted Cruz talks. Because like it's like, yeah, Ted Cruz wagging his finger saying, you better not do that. That's not nice. Yeah, that's nothing more than entertainment for 5 minutes. This is like you can tell them to stop, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to follow through with it. And I wish I had actually aspired to something, not just talk about it. And that's a lot of the issues with a lot of the, whether it's the rhinos or whether it's the left or whether it's the court, even the court systems too, or the FBI, the CIA. There's this rigged game going on. It's set in this status quo way that they want to keep the status quo going, and for it to not break from that, anything that goes against that, they need to try to remove it like an infection as quick as possible. Oh
Well,
my god, the Twitter. I hope Musk can do something. Once again, I'm hoping for exposure of the algorithm, but in
yeah,
terms
I
of
mean,
bringing people back, great. But
well, I mean, my whole thing on Elon Musk is like I'm with when it comes to Elon Musk and like Twitter specifically, like I'm gonna take a wait and see approach. Like I'm
as you
not
should.
like I know that everyone's getting like really excited, like, oh, change is coming, change is coming. Well, they said the same thing with Parlor. They said the same thing with Gab. They said the same thing with True Social, and nothing has really changed with those.
No.
And I mean the other thing too is the problem with like alt platforms too, even with like BitChute and Odyssey. I love
Mhm.
those two platforms, but the big problems I have is you're not reaching the mainstream. You're only
Yeah.
reaching the people who are kind of I mean, I wish more people would go to, places like Rumble or Odyssey. I've had some issues with BitChute, but I might have to give them a try again.
Rumble's actually gaining traction. I will say that Rumble's actually
Yeah.
gaining traction. So they might have a shot. And then the best part is they're not connected as far as like servers go. They're not connected to any of the big things. And they also got Viva and Barnes connected to them too, as well, which is a help as well as far
Yeah.
as how to operate. So I think Rumble may, and I have to say, I'm not going to get excited, but Rumble might have a shot.
Well, the other thing, and I might as well make this. I tweeted this out briefly on Twitter like a few weeks ago, but I keep forgetting to mention here. Basically, um, chat for anyone who's interested. My entire show archive dating back to 2018 is
Mhm.
now backed up to Rumble. So
Good.
anything that is on here on YouTube is backed up on Rumble now too.
Mhm.
So if you want
Mhm.
to go to Rumble, and it's in the show links, which I always have in the description.
Mhm.
And I'll post the Golded server there too
Mhm.
afterwards. But yeah, Rumble has been great. The only thing is I don't do live streaming just because you have to pay for it, and it's still not that great. But
Mhm.
I mean,
Viva uses it, and he says he gets, even though he has to pay for it, he gets. My guess is it's a set fee, but the money he makes in return, I feel like obviously makes up for it because whereas YouTube with the super chats that you make via YouTube, not like a tip jar equivalent like Stream Elements or Stream Labs, YouTube and Google with the traditional super chats, Google gets 30% of that. Rumble, they only get 10% of that. So they do have that to them going for them. And what else is Rumble? Oh, Rumble now is on Roku. That's a big step. If Rumble's on Roku, That is a huge step because a lot
Yeah.
of people want to watch these things on their TV. So Rumble has that. Now, Minds has issues with trying to get reach, but what they do have right now, they're very close to being fully decentralized. So even if they have trouble getting like traction, they don't have to worry about at least being removed from the internet because when you're fully decentralized, that's going to work to their advantage. And that was Bill Ottman's goal is to being fully decentralized. And Odyssey is at that stage, and hopefully, and I know they now have an app on Android, but I don't think. Hopefully, they can just upload it manually. The way you can just go to Minds and upload it via their website instead of relying on Apple or Google to get it. Because we gotta stop playing with the big boys. Eventually, they're gonna. When you do that, they see you gain traction. They're gonna say you either update your terms and conditions, which is their equivalent of the Constitution, or we remove you. So honestly, even though they're decentralized, hopefully they have a backup plan because they need to like not be involved with that stuff at all. At least with Minds, you can download it off their website and not have to worry about, oh, I can't get the app. Yeah, you can. You just go on the minds.com website and it's right there. It's right there,
Yeah.
bro. So, and here's the thing, and this is something Ripa has mentioned, so I'm going to be echoing a lot of what he said. A parallel economy, as exhausting and as a lot as that is, it is very super necessary because Apple, Google, they're not going to negotiate. They're never going to admit what they're going to do. They could be caught doing every single thing in the book. They could be caught, even with all that, even with literal evidence in our eyes. They're never going to admit it. So stop trying to reason with these people. We need to build as much of our own things as possible, and obviously having social networks that are not on the we had to put out through Apple or through Google. We need to release that stuff independently. And releasing it independently is going to be very necessary. Now that Rumble is on Roku, that's great too. That's good. But we need to be as independent of all these things as quick as possible. And that's why I'm very hopeful with Daily Wire, because the irony is they got huge because of Facebook. They played the Facebook's algorithm game. I don't know how they figured it out, but they did. And they won. And now Daily Wire has a following thanks to the left. So like that's funny
Well,
how that happens.
I can tell you a little bit about uh Daily Daily Wire. I mean,
Do
one
tell.
of one of the reasons why I think they grew so big is because Ben Shapiro, like him or not, he understands. He is a lawyer and he understands. He understands kind of how the legal loopholes
Oh yes.
work.
Agreed.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I actually interviewed Ben Shapiro before he was famous.
Oh,
Before
did
he was
you?
famous, yeah.
Oh,
When
you'll have to send that to me. I would like to listen to that.
yeah, yeah, listen to a young 17-year-old me interview like a 20-something-year-old Ben Shapiro. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to hear it.
I was a huge fan of Andrew Breitbart, who started Breitbart, and I mean, and Andrew was really one of the first ones to really kind of start the whole, we need to get into the culture war, and unfortunately, he's passed on now. But I mean,
Yep. R.I.P.
there, if you really want to know like what the history of the new right is, I mean, Andrew Breitbart is really one of like, I mean, it's a shame that he isn't around today because he's always like one of those individuals that like, yeah, you can't ever know what someone would say when they're no longer here, but he is one of
Mm.
those people that I would at least like to know what he would say
Oh
if
yeah,
he were still
I
here.
agree. I know. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I mean, I'm not obviously you seems like you know about him far longer than I have. I'm a little bit of a late bloomer in that respect, but I'm definitely more aware of his history and him and Andrew Clavin. Andrew Clavin used to be super left, and Andrew
Yeah.
Clavin and these guys get it, but all along with Ben Shapiro, once again, it doesn't matter whether you agree or don't agree. That's not relevant. These guys understand what longtime Republicans, rhinos, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter. The name doesn't even matter. It's not even relevant. They understand what has been neglected. They understand it. They get it. And that's what should have been touched upon 20, 30, 40 years ago. And because we had all these super long time rhinos or Republicans being in charge, aka just being progressives who run the speed limit, like Eric July says, like they basically helped the left gain traction.
Well,
They helped
well,
them get
yeah.
traction. They would say, "Oh, hey, this is bad. Don't do this." Okay, hold up. No, you can go now. We just said it's bad. That way they can act like they did the minimum. And
Well,
that's not far from enough. And the left keep getting traction. Now they gain traction politically. Every time the right would denounce things like video games, stuff like that, they left like, okay, that's our industry, another major institution we can infiltrate. The right kept ignoring way too many things, and the left capitalized on every single thing. They didn't look at something like, oh, we can't talk about that. We can't invade that institution. No, they saw it as we're gonna go for it, and now we're paying for it. Now we have this large uphill battle that could have been prevented. Obviously, it's great. We got names like Rand Paul involved and Ron DeSantis. That's awesome. But it could have never come to this. It could have been avoided, and that's the part that's tragic. This could have all been avoided.
yeah. Well, the problem with the Republican Party, and I have to say that even though I'm a registered Republican,
Yeah,
I'm not really a fan of the Republican Party.
don't blame you.
In general, and by the way, hail, Ash, you showed up just at the right time. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying though, yeah, I'm not. The thing that drives me crazy about the Republican Party is like for years when I was a kid, they were like, "Oh well, Hollywood, entertainment, like that's not important. Like we need to focus on policy."
Yep.
And
That's why
it's
Crowder
like,
didn't last with Fox News. He said they would only focus on the politics, and that he originally tried to pitch "Change My Mind" to Fox News. Did you? I'm not sure if you knew that.
oh
Crowder
yeah,
originally pitched that, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that. That's like an entertainment show." He's like, "Doesn't matter." Crowder at least understood that. He understood that, and they neglected him. And now, obviously, Crowder's doing much better on his own, and he's got this entertaining cultural show that's actually having impact. But dude, that could have been on Fox. Fox could have been freaking entertaining. But they neglected it.
well, I will give credit where credit is due. I mean, Rush Limbaugh was like one of the first, kind of conservative voices to kind of mix, politics and
Culture.
culture.
He
But
was on Family Guy.
not only that, but not a lot of people know that like he co-hosted Monday Night Football for I think 2 years or something before ESPN gave him the axe. I mean same same thing with Dennis Miller, who I've actually had an opportunity to speak with a few times. But yeah, I mean the thing is for what reason the Republicans up until Trump had this weird aversion to like pop culture stuff, and even now
Yep.
they still kind of are. It's weird. So the
It
other
is weird, yes.
the other thing that I got into like a huge I got into a huge Twitter scuff with some other Republicans because I guess there was like a conservative like porn star who like showed up at CPAC. And
Oh, you're talking about Brandy
oh yeah,
Brandy Love. Brandy
yeah,
Love.
Brandy
I
Love.
remember
Yeah,
that. I remember that. Oh yeah.
and I got into it.
Oh.
I actually got into a Twitter spat with Charlie Kirk of all people because I was like, I'm like, well, who who cares? Like, she's not there promoting anything. So if she's
Mhm.
just like, if she's just, like walking around doing stuff, like, what's the big deal? And even if she was promoting stuff, like, aren't we supposed to be catalysts? Like, isn't that the whole like idea of like free markets and whatnot? Like, why are people getting? I don't understand why people are getting so upset about that. Meanwhile, we have the left like trying.
CRT.
Yeah, we have critical race theory and like everything, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no, dude, that's the pro. See, Sam, you're making so much sense there. It's kind of like all the bullshit with Barack Obama. They would focus on the dumb shit, like, oh my god, his suit's tan. Oh, he's using this sauce called Grey Poupon. It's like, dude, are you not paying attention to all the mindless wars he's causing? Are you not
Well,
focusing on him and the Patriot Act? You have all this bullshit. You could actually legitimately get at the Barack Obama. But no, let's focus on the color of his suit. That
well,
shit
what?
doesn't fucking matter.
Well, let's focus on the birth certificate, which I know that Trump did somewhat,
Oh,
but like the whole birth certificate thing, like that was largely like a conspiracy theory, and
yeah.
I'm like
Even
that may
then, it's not the most important thing.
yeah, I'm like, even if that is true, that's not the most. I mean, yeah, that whole kind of era of politics was when I began my show, and it was it was really kind of annoying because even like at 15, I was like, why are you guys going after him for like all this? Like, there's a
It
lot
was
more.
stupid. It was a waste of time. There's so much legitimate stuff they could have gone after him for. Instead, they focus on all these things that were not necessary, and then, like they were doing a lot of that. And once again, with Charlie Kirk, same thing, and that's what drove me nuts about the Super Bowl show. Like it was cool to see like Candace Owens being all about the show. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not into that type of music at all. But even then, my opinion on how that show doesn't matter. It's the fact that Candace Owens was embracing the culture of that and not just automatically denouncing it and pushing it away. And that's unfortunate because Ryan Kindle brought up when he and Jeremy were on Daily Wire's thing about video gaming. They were talking about Josh Hawley. He has all these great ideas. He's really he actually he's definitely got some of the better ideas amongst his side. But then he starts going off about video games, and it's such a real turnoff. You're like, dude, how are we going to gain any footing in anything when you denounce every freaking thing on the planet? When you start denouncing everything on the planet, you make yourself no different than the left. You become
Yeah,
just like them, but with different policies.
yeah, well, and then when I saw that, I'm like, really? Because like I remember like as a kid when the Republican Party was like freaking out about Grand Theft Auto, like like 20 years
Yep,
ago,
I
and then
remember that. Same
uh,
with the religious right of the 90s, and then they teamed up with Tipper Gore and the Democrats over the Filthy 15, which is when they had
yep,
to go to court against Dee Snyder and Frank Zappa, and Blackie Laws from Wasp was supposed to be
yep,
there. Yep.
and I'm like, why are we back? I'm like, why are we back here again? Like, I was a kid when the Grand Theft Auto controversy happened. You mean to tell me that like I'm now like a 27-year-old, like full grown adult, and we're still arguing about
Yeah, no
that
progress.
stuff?
No progress.
So I mean, honestly, the really frustrating thing is like the vast majority of like Republicans I know who are just like ordinary people, like, yeah, they love to play video, like
Yeah.
all my friends are gamers and whatnot, but it's like,
Hmm.
the people who actually work in politics, it's like, geez, they just don't get it. It's annoying.
It is
So
very annoying. No, trust me, I hear you and I agree, and that's really unfortunate. Like it almost feels like they're in lockstep, like a lot of these traditional random Republicans, where they're in lockstep with the left. It's like, okay, we denounce these people to the right, so we can either move them to the left, or they'll just stay away from voting. and then we help the left get what they want. And that's why it was the best thing of that Donald Trump won the 2016 election. Regardless of how you feel about him, what matters is that he threw a wrench in their plans. Because the thing was, it was supposed to be fixed. It was supposed to be Hillary was going to win by a landslide because they didn't take Trump seriously. They thought, okay, sweet, we got this guy Donald Trump. No one care about. They're going to think he's a laughing stock. We got this in the bag. But then he won, and it was kind of like when he won, they got caught with their pants down. They couldn't fathom that. They were like, whoa, this was not what we had in mind. We cannot let this happen again. And then obviously we all saw what happened with 2020. I'm not going to go into that for obvious reasons. But now Trump was also necessary to step into the Republican Party because obviously he was a historical Democrat.
Yeah.
He banged freaking Stormy Daniels. The guy he lived a rock star life. He lived, and also he was, even like I say, there are things he did that I didn't agree with, but there's things he did I did agree with. I loved his rock star mentality. I did respect that aspect of it. I loved how he would always say these crazy epic speeches. He would say like words like huge and this is gonna be amazing, and he would do these hand gestures. It got really entertaining. It didn't feel like a president speech. It felt like he was cutting a WWF promo, like from the Attitude Era of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It felt like he was doing an Attitude Era promo, and I would show my friends this, like who are not like into Trump, but they're like, oh, I kind of actually agree with that. Like he would talk about like we're gonna have clean water, it's gonna be great, and friends of mine were like, oh, well, yeah, of course I would like clean water. Why would I not like that? Like that's great. I actually agree with that. And then before I knew it, like one of my buddies who used to be, I guess you could say he was moderately left, and he's a black man that lives in like the west side of Chicago. But once he starts seeing all these clips of Trump and being funny, he's like, dude, this guy's actually kind of badass. He's just like, this guy's great. This guy's like, he's like, this guy's like, this is what the right needed.
Yeah, so I actually got let go from like at the time, one of the top college Republican like publications at the time online because I was a Trump guy, and they decided to go never Trump because of like moral virtues or whatever. You know, and at the time it was like a setback, but now it's great because like now like I'm fully, independent. Like, and yeah, I only have like 830 subscribers, but like,
nothing wrong with that, dude. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that drives me crazy at YouTube is like how they demand like that people get like 1,000 subs before like monetization or anything, because it used to be like way back in the day that you could get like monetized almost instantly. I think.
Yeah, that or like 500, something like that.
So
refilling my drink here. So cheers to you, sir.
Yeah,
and cheers to everyone in the chat. It's Saturday night. I know we're having a chill talk about politics stream, but still we can still have fun. We're still here to have a good time. So cheers to all the new faces in the chat who I have now just met for first time, and of course the familiar faces like Red Shirt and Pope Metallicus. I see you guys there. Thank you for hanging out.
Yeah,
but, go on.
And also, guys, jump into the Gilded server because we're the Whitfield Reports Gilded server is now open. I did fix the role permissions for everyone. Finally, I had this weird thing where I guess I accidentally gave everyone admin permissions because I didn't know what I was doing, but now I've got it fixed up. All right, so you have like multiple shows that you do on your channel, which is really impressive. I mean, you did the comic book review thing last night. Is that like a weekly thing
Yes.
that you do, or?
Yes. So here's how my live streams work. I do two of them. Every now and then there's an exceptional one, but we won't go into the exceptions. We'll go into the mainstays for conversation's sake. So on Tuesday night, there's Toxic Tuesday. And Toxic Tuesday is where we talk about a movie, but not just any movie. We talk about super toxic male movies, like whether it's like Die Hard or something like Animal House. Like we are very proud of toxic masculinity, and we are proud of being men on the panel, dude. I've
Oh, me
actually
too.
tried. See, there you go. Great minds think alike. And we've tried to invite a few women on the panel, and some have come on. But you'd be amazed how many women don't want to come on because they just want to see the men talk. Like, no, I'll just stand by and watch you guys. I'm like, are you sure? You're cool. I feel like you'd be a good addition to add to the conversation. And no, it's fine. They don't want to come on. They just want to watch the show. That's cool. I have no and Red Shirt. He's been on Toxic Tuesday many times. Toxic Tuesday has been a blast, and that started off as an accident. Toxic Tuesday was an accident that turned into a mainstay show, and now it's become a way of like it's become a have a Tuesday nights like after Midnight's Edge after dark finishes, which I'm usually on Tuesday nights. We bring a chunk of the people over to Toxic Tuesday, and it's just a party. It's a party. It's great.
How
Everyone's there, have a good time, party. It's great. And it's great because you got badass streams going on like the Tuesday night main event at Geeks and Gamers. But even then, we could still bring 30, 40, sometimes even 50 or 60 on the rare occasion to our stream. And I'm just a lowbrow guy with under 1,000 subs, and yet here I am bringing in numbers that 1 or 2K people would love to have.
Yeah, that's what that is honestly what's crazy is sometimes you get like people who, like I'm a small channel, but yeah, when I got, I wasn't even doing YouTube at the time, but when I got Ben Shapiro on, that was a
That's
big like
cool.
that was a big like um and I almost got I haven't gotten him yet, but I am planning on getting like Mr. Medicare on, or trying to, who's like one of the big internet like personality type people. But yeah, Toxic Tuesday, I think I've tuned into a stream like once before, but I haven't been on there yet. But yeah, I'm big into
We'll have to get you on. Trust
yeah.
me, it gets very oozing. Like the swearing is that high. We're all being super manly men.
What is
It's great.
what is your favorite toxic man film?
Oh boy, dude. There's so many. Like I honestly I've never like listed the list of them and thought about it. There's so many good ones. Like, there's even ones that I've had the chat introduce me to. There's ones that the panelists said, like, hey, you should watch it. And I haven't seen them. And I'll admit it if I've not seen something, but that don't mean that it's off limits for a topic because I'll admit if I'm a late bloomer, but man, sorry, there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones, and oh man, I'm trying to think. Like, I love a lot of the Kurt Russell flicks. I'm a big Kurt Russell guy. Kurt Russell's the man. Like Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone, of course, too. Stallone is
Yeah,
the guy. There's so many good ones. Even there's a lot of great toxic comedy ones too. Like we did Porky's recently. We've done Animal House. One day we'll get to Revenge of the Nerds. Soon we're gonna start hitting some anime territory, whether it's like heavy metal or Team America,
have
World Police.
oh my god, I love Team America.
So good. So
Ha- have
good.
have you oh shoot, my
Take your time, dude. Hey,
my head
Warfist. I love Green Lantern, by the way. Hal Jordan is my boy in brightest day, in blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who
um
worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
I would say that like I just last year I did like a whole rewatch of the Sean Connery Bond movies. Those are
Oh. That will be a Toxic Tuesday month. We'll probably do a Toxic Tuesday month over those.
If you do like a Bondathon, count me in for that series of shows, because like when it comes to like to the community of shows, I mean I'm like the James Bond aficionado, so
Ooh, so you're
yeah.
a Bond guy. Okay, all the more reason to bring you in.
Yeah. Except I mean I like Daniel Craig.
Mhm.
But you know, the way his Bond saga ended, I mean, I'm a little, well, I mean, it's been almost a year, so I guess I can say, I mean, the fact that his Bond got killed off, I'm still a little on the fence about that.
I don't like it personally.
No, not
My personal opinion, I liked Casino Royale. I thought it was a solid flick. But even then, after that, it was just Bond being Jason Bourne, which just
yeah.
seems to be the common issue. And there's the mix of being Jason Bourne, A, B, with Soy Bond, C, those two together don't make great, D, all of the above. I'm like, I'm not with this shit, bro. No, no, no,
Well,
no, 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 no.
well, the other thing too is like I've also read like a lot of the I've read like a lot of the novels that Ian Fleming wrote, like, and
Mhm.
they're and you want to talk like toxic. Okay, yeah, the Ian Fleming novels that he did of Bond are like, they were written in the 50s, when he's just like, and Bond is just like in the books like literally backhanding women for like no for like no reason whatsoever, other than I'm James Bond and I can't, and I can do that. So I
All
mean,
right.
it's, you know,
Hold that thought. Please give me a minute here. I gotta check out something.
okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think he's checking out something right now. So let's see. Let's check in with chat. So far, Evil Eric says, YouTube. Let's see. Warfist says subbed. Oh, Sam's Great Machine has an oil slick expulsion device in the back and stinger missiles in the front. Warfist, you're not supposed to be giving away the schematics of the grape machine. So let's see. Let's see. Evil Eric says YouTube masculinity and real masculinity are damn near complete opposites. Oh yeah, we know that Eric. None of us are like, the thing it is, we get on here and talk like, like movie related stuff. Like the guys who try and do like IRL stuff on you know, YouTube, like Ralph, yeah, those those IRL streamers in the bunch. Yeah, those are the guys who pretend to be YouTube masculine.
Okay,
Well,
sorry. Dude, all the whiskey I've been having tonight, having fun chat with you. I needed a pee. It was just like I couldn't hold it anymore. I thought I could persevere. I'm like an hour and a half in. I'm like, you know what? Make it quick. You'll be good. We'll be good. But
oh
whew, dude, I feel like I'm sober again.
oh yeah,
But
no problem. I might have to do that myself after this
that's fine.
after
Or if you
this.
even need to go get a beer, I can carry the chat. I've done solo streams before, and I see Bush's comment while we're on the Bond subject. He says, "I like Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace is not good. Skyfall is all right. Spectre sucked, dude. That is exactly where I'm at. Like, I enjoyed one flick overall of the bunch, and I'm just like, and on top of it, and all those are flicks. Like Craig, which is ironic, he was the most shredded and in shape of all the Bonds, but he was the most wussified Bond at the same time, simultaneously. I'm like, bro, I'm not with this shit, man. I'm not with this. And Warfist84, thanks for the sub, brother. Appreciate
Pure,
it.
yeah, pure. Now, see, and people are like, "Oh, well, this is just because you grew up with him." But like,
Not an argument.
I'm
Not an
still
argument.
I am still a big Pierce Brosnan, you know, fan. So I mean,
Okay, I'm gonna say some shit. That whole but the 80s or the 90s, not an argument. Not an argument. There are things that came out. A lot of people will say that they'll still be hanging on to a song that they like from like the 80s. I'm like, hold on, but that song's from the 80s. So are you gonna now hate it now because it's from the 80s? It's not an argument. Like,
what?
it's not in that whole it's from the 80s or from the 90s. It's not an argument. That's a complete non-point, as Eric Joy likes to say. Like, if you hate something so much and you need it changed so drastically to adjust your settings, then you don't like it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. And this is the biggest issue we have with this whole inclusive is we need to concede that everything is not for everyone, and that's fine. Like, and this is why properties like Star Trek suffer, because they took something that had a historically niche audience and they try to make it for everyone. But when you make it for everyone, you take what was great about Star Trek and it's watered and neutered down to cater for everyone. It's the equivalent of when Metallica watered down their sound to the Black Album to adjust for the mainstream crowd, because they started off as a thrash metal band to becoming an arena rock band. I'm not saying that I don't like arena rock as great arena rock, but the problem is that they changed their sound so drastically from one end to the other end of the spectrum that the core audience from before doesn't recognize them for who they once were. So to them, they see that as selling out. And a lot of the
Yeah,
fans who they gained after the Black Album, they are a lot more casual listeners of music. They're the people who come to the shows for the hits. They're not going to be that guy who's going to come to the show to hear like some odd obscure song like the Call of Cthulhu from Ride the Lightning. They're not there for that. They're here to hear Enter Sandman, Sabbath True, and leave. And that's the difference between a normie and a diehard fan. Just Metallica is the best subject when you want to talk about what is a normie and what's a diehard. That is Metallica is the best example, because you have people who know the deep cuts, and then you have the people who are there for the 5 songs, and then they want to get out of the show.
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, I mean, it's awesome that you're in. I'm not as much into I'm not as much into heavy metal, but I do enjoy heavy metal. I mean, that's the other thing is like Tool is a band, and I know Tool is like a far left band, but like musically, I still,
Oh, they're outstanding music. I saw them in
yeah,
2007 on the 10,000 Days tour. Sears Center in Barrington. Yeah, 10,000 Days tour. That was the only time I ever saw them live. But I will give them credit because they introduced me to this killer Swedish band called Meshuggah from Sweden. When Tool were touring off Lateralus in 2001, they usually always bring one opener with them, and that opener was Meshuggah, and they're this band from Sweden where they have these weird time signatures, and they are like the weirdest shit you've ever heard on the planet. And they had this freakishly like phenomenal drummer, Thomas Hawk. And Meshuggah are not human. And you want to know who's a fan of Meshuggah? a big name comedian, Bill Burr, is a big fan of Meshuggah. He
Oh
went
yeah.
to a show to see Meshuggah. He said, I discovered this band called Meshuggah, and I was really enjoying it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was so odd and out there and different, but it was so good at the same time. And he corrected himself in his own conversation. He said, because he originally called them a heavy metal band, and they're not. When I think of heavy metal, I think Iron Maiden, Accept, Saxon, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. But he said, no, metal band, because there's traditional heavy metal. So the fact that Bill Burr corrected himself in that conversation was very respectable and commendable. But Meshuggah is really out there. I would highly recommend for the crowd to listen, just to hear something weird and out there. Meshuggah. Seriously, like you are not ready for that. They got like 10 albums and they're from Sweden. And they just put one out like a week or two ago too, called Unmutable or Immutable. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll tell you, speaking of bands from the 80s, that are still good, Tears for Fears actually put out one that's still that's pretty good. It's not as good as the one they had in 85, but it's still pretty good if you like
Oh,
80s music.
oh, I do. Oh, dude, trust me, I love a lot. And that before we go to that, I see people in the chat. So one Warfist said on Pandora created a Man of War channel, Meshuggah, and played. And damn, dude, no, Meshuggah's great. But B, Man of War is great as well. Kings of Metal is one of the best albums of all time. Love that album. And then Evil Eric said Hawk is a decent vocalist as well. Well, the vocalist in Meshuggah is Jens Kidman. So unless you got Thomas Hawk doing vocals in another band, your Jens Kidman's the vocalist. But that's cool to know more people in the chat know about Meshuggah. Then I realized that's cool. But as far as 80s bands, dude, there's a lot of great 80s bands. I mean, you could go out the thrash scene alone. Obviously, you had the big four: Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and you got Testament, Exodus, Death Angel, Overkill, Suicidal Tendencies. And then you got the traditional heavy metal scene. You had the Dio era Black Sabbath. You also had Nuclear Assault. I could go on for days. Like then Saxon, it's insane. Like even Deep Purple singer Ian Gillian did vocals for one Black Sabbath album called Born Again, which is a fantastic album and one that Pope Metallica and I will hopefully talk about one day. But dude, the 80s is rocking. Also Warlock, because Adoro Pesh, she's an amazing singer. And Warlock was great, and they're from Germany. Like the A's were, of course, Alice Cooper. I mean, dude, the A's were just absolutely excellent. I love the A's. So you're just proving my point, Sam. The 80s were awesome. That's why I don't get why they say, oh, but the 80s, we got to update it for my times. It's like, no, you don't. If you want something so different from what's already there, then create your own thing. But that's the thing. These people aren't capable of doing that. They want to take something that you love and make it about their own personal interest. And then they still simultaneously expect you to mindlessly embrace it. If you don't, there's something wrong with you.
Well, these people who are into like the whole agenda pushing, they have no creative skills whatsoever. So it's like they want to subvert something like Star Wars or James Bond, but they're not even interested in, either of those two things. Just as an example, same thing with Star Trek. I mean, and to be honest, like I really wasn't that much of a Trekkie growing up, but like I've kind of gotten into it now just because like the SJWs just they keep complaining about it so much. I'm like, okay, what are they complaining about? So, and I mean as hacky as the ones from the 60s can be somewhat, I enjoy them for what they are. So,
well, that just shows you how much good stuff there was in the old days. The thing is with the whole 80s argument, they just see as whatever is old is considered bad. That's all they see as old is bad no matter what. Which is interesting too, because Star Trek, I'm glad you mentioned that's a very interesting and excellent point of segue for conversation. Star Trek was always a progressive show, and I had to emphasize the word always progressive. And I mean that in the organic sense, not the progressive that the
Yeah.
left likes to use nowadays. They were organically progressive. They had a lot of checkbox characters that were there just because, not to check off a box. And they were well acted characters. Like I'm not a Trekkie, I'm not knowledgeable on it, but I know enough so I can at least speak on that stuff. And a lot of those Trekkies will all tell me the same thing. Trekkies are very consistent in their conversations. They all tell me it was always progressive. It wasn't what they're called progressive now. They've always been diverse. And they also damage a lot of the continuity. A lot of Trekkies value the continuity of the show. And it's not all right. Dude, I work with people who lean left at my work, and they hate what Alex Kurtzman has done to Star Trek. He's the current guy. He's the Kathleen Kennedy of Star Trek. And they hate what he's done. I'm just thinking in my head, these are people who lean left, and they are saying this word for word to me. I'm the normie listening to all the Trekkies, whether they lean right, left, independent, whatever, apolitical. They're all telling me the same thing.
Yeah,
And
no.
that's like a rare united message.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but even my friends who are kind of on the left, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's funny because I don't really have that many friends who are. I have friends who are liberal, but I don't have friends who are on the left, and that is a distinction that I
very
make.
distinct.
But even so, I would say my friends who are, I guess, liberal, they,
Mm-hmm.
Like the only film out of the new trilogy that anyone really likes is, I guess, The Force Awakens. But then,
Mm-hmm.
even then, like no one I know really likes the new trilogy of Star Wars movies at all.
No, they
Like,
don't.
for me, the Star Wars saga more or less like ended after, Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
unless you count the old expanded universe, which I do,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean those books are no longer canon either. So what are you gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? But
Well, here's the thing. So, okay, well, we're out down that rabbit hole. It's really a shame because, like, here's the thing: a lot of the people who like the Last Jedi or the Force Awakens, I want to go into Star Wars too much because that topic's been beaten to death and then some.
yeah,
Well, I'll just say this very quickly: a lot of people who like those movies, are they still talking about it now?
no,
Anyone? Bueller, and everyone chat. We all know people who embrace those movies. At least one. Does any one of them talk about? And be honest with me. If I'm wrong, I'll own it. I've been wrong before. I've been wrong on Twitter even about a few weeks ago. I will admit it. I will. I have no shame in that.
well,
No one. They claim to like the sequels because the normies are into it for 5 minutes because it's considered the hot topic of the world. But the minute it dies down, the hype dies down, they go away. The difference is even though I wasn't wild on Attack of the Clones or the Phantom Menace, the diehards talked about it for years on end. They did, even though I
yeah,
wasn't into it. The difference, once again, Star Wars and Metallica are the best normies and diehard conversations ever, and you can look for the distinction because the diehards always dissect and talk about things for years on end, whether they like it or even if they don't, they're still gonna like talk about it. The normies, they embrace and consume it for that point in time when the hype is there and still hot, but then they move on to the next thing. That's not like a disrespect to normie. That's just the facts of life. That's just how it is. And I don't care if a normie wants to be in for 5 minutes. That's fine. I'm gonna be in my position embracing Spider-Man, whether you are there or not.
yeah. Well, I mean, the interesting thing about fandom is, I guess, like everyone starts off more or less kind of as like a normie, but once you
Mm-hmm.
get into something, you really get into something, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then there's there's like the rare thing though where like fandoms will like just treat their fans just like total garbage, where they'll like lose
Mm-hmm.
fans. And Game of Thrones is like a perfect example of
George
that.
R. Martin is complicit. Go on. I'm
So
listening.
yeah. And I, in Game of Thrones, that whole thing has been beaten into the ground as well. But just as like an example, I mean, you would have thought that Lucasfilm would have learned from
Lucasfilm or Lucas himself?
no Lucasfilm,
Okay.
but yeah, you would have thought that Lucasfilm would have learned from those mistakes, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. No, and see, here's the thing though. This is when Game of Thrones took the tumble it did, we were still getting more aware of social justice, PC, intersectionality, fourth wave feminism, yada 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 yada. We didn't realize the extent of how far these types of people double down on their message. Now we're on years of it. Many years later, after Game of Thrones had the downfall it did, many more franchises and IPs have taken their downfall, and we're at the point now where there's no progress whatsoever, and we're now seeing that these people will die with their ideology. They're gonna die with it. It's nearly impossible to try to talk to them, reason with them, convince them. I mean, you can argue them and debate them to a public crowd, and obviously the crowd might get their satisfaction, but you're not gonna get that person to listen at all. They're gonna act like they're listening just because they need to put on a good image, but they don't want to reason with you. They're gonna say they want to reason with you. They're gonna say, "Oh, I'm just a moderately left person," but when you see what they say and watch what they do are two different things. And then when you watch what they do when they try to cancel people, they try to dox people, you see that their actions contradict everything else. And you can't reason that. Is why I say, like, stop trying to reason with these people. Stop taking the attacks so personal when they say you're an ist or a phobe or an ism. They're going to say that because they know the power that those statements have, and they're going to use that against you. For me, I've heard that shit so much in my life. I don't care. I really
yeah,
don't. Like, I know it's not true. Why do I need to defend myself? That if I'm so sure of my position, if someone wants to call me one of those things, I'll let them reach to the conclusion. And so far, 10 out of 10 times, not one of them has been able to prove their position of me. Their AKA their accusation.
yeah. Well, and even so, then it's like you're not really going to change their opinion of you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that I always like to do with them is when they say, "Oh, we're fighting for such and such," right? I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? You're fighting for, like, like if they'll talk to me or whatnot. Like, I actually like to ask them like what they're fighting for, because generally they'll say they're fighting for X, Y, or Z cause, but they don't actually know what they can't explain what they're fighting for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's a, it's interesting. Like,
Oh, it's very interesting.
the one thing I get like is, oh, we're fighting for women's rights against, like, the patriarchy. And I'm like, okay, so
Okay.
what does that mean? And they're
Yeah.
like,
What rights don't you have?
well, we want to stop sexism. And I'm like, again, what does that what does that mean? Well, we want to stop women from being sexually harassed. Again, what does that mean? well, we don't want lewd comments. Okay, so you just don't want men to flirt with women then.
And they got what they
Yeah,
wished for.
well, yes, but no, and yeah, they get very wishy-washy once you
Yeah, they do. Once you try to bring it down to specifics, a lot of them, if not almost all of them, do. And because you're trying to break down, you're actually trying to genuinely understand the position, and it's like they didn't thought about because they thought, okay, a lot of these people they only take their position because it's considered the socially acceptable position. The minute that position changes, they're gonna go right over to that position like
well,
an NPC. They're gonna download that information to their brain, and then they're gonna repeat the talking points. And trust me, I know I dealt with this shit even a few days ago. I dealt with twice, not to bring it back into metal, but I've dealt with this with Mark from the guitarist from Lamb of God. Like the dude is a total NPC. He acts like he's this moderate guy of both positions, but when you actually see him like play out his actions, he doesn't have any legs to stand on. There's no consistency, and I called this out. I'm like, Mark, your positions don't make sense. And he tries to get mad at me. He tries to say, oh, you're just being mad. I'm like, oh, I'm being mad. Okay, prove it to me, Mark. How am I mad? Show
did,
me where you got from point A to point B. And what happens when I put him on the defense? He stops responding. He stops responding. And what does he do instead of respond to me? He goes after everyone else around me. So you can't say he just missed my message. No, he was going after everyone else but me. That wasn't some coincidence. And that's not the first time. Because the second time he tried doing another thing too. He's like, "Oh, you don't know me. You don't know me in my divorce." Because he was trying to talk about how divorce is it can actually be a success. Oh, you haven't met me. You don't know what it's like. I'm like, bullshit. I don't know Johnny Depp, but I know he got his finger cut off by Amber Heard. Why don't you show me where that is a successful divorce, where he got
yeah,
his finger cut. And what happened after that? He stopped responding again. But guess what he did? He argued with everyone else but me. And you're going to tell me twice? No one could try to tell me twice that that's a coincidence. That is, he knows I'm putting him on the spot, and he knows he's not capable of answering. Just because you're some guy in a big band that could tour in arenas doesn't mean you're automatically smart. But these guys are so cocky that they think that because I'm this guy who sells 500,000 records in the United States, no one's going to question my position. I will question you. I don't care if only 500 people know who I am. I'm going to put you up to task. The guy shuts up when I put him on the spot.
yeah, I had a very similar exchange like about a year and a half ago with Hugh Hefner's son, Cooper Hefner,
Mm-hmm.
because he was going off on this whole thing of, well, my father would have never supported Trump. He never liked Donald Trump. And I'm like, um I can pull up like 4 photographs of your dad and Trump on Google right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. Do you? Well, he was my father. He wasn't yours, and I'm like, true, but your dad is dead, and again, um, you might be right. Your dad might not have supported Trump, but you can't say that because your dad's not around.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know you're his son, but you can't speak for the dead necessarily. So,
Also, Donald Trump still had a lot of traditional Democrat positions. This is the part that the left
yeah.
refuses to acknowledge. They don't want to talk about that. They want to act like that part is not existent. And Bush, thank you. I was just about to say it, but he beat me to the punch. They loved Donald Trump. They all loved him. But the minute he decided to run for office, they turned on him. in a flip of a light switch. When you go out and turn off that light in your room, that's how quick they turned on him. They loved it.
Oh
They
yeah.
worshiped the ground he walked on. Dude, go watch WWF WrestleMania when he was at that event, or go against Vince McMahon in the hair versus hair match where he
Yeah,
shaves Vince McMahon's head. That crowd was over the moon about Donald Trump. He had what's his name? What's that wrestler's name? It's
I was a kid when that happened. Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah. Well, and that was the other thing is the wrestler he had. Shoot, Jimmy or Matt. I know you guys aren't on YouTube generally, but one of you guys DM me on Twitter and let me know who I'm thinking of. The guy was what, black too. That was
yeah, he wrestled on behalf of Trump, and he has spoke fondly of him to this day. He's like, I'm not gonna say a bad word about him.
yeah. It's the whole Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, at first I thought it was a meme, but honestly, it's true. I literally had a second cousin disown me, because I voted for Trump, and she disowned me over Facebook too. Like it was weird.
Yeah, they want to look validated, and they want to see like, okay, oh no, this person might see me and get mad at me, so I gotta just scrutinize anyone and get them out of my way.
Yeah, and it's like if you didn't vote for Trump, I don't care if you voted for him or not. Just so long as you're not like an ass to other people, that's honestly all I care about. Like
Bobby Lashley. I just look at Bobby Lashley.
Oh yeah, Bobby Lashley. Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley. Yeah, he speaks like to this day. Even guys like who are in the boxing industry, Mike Tyson, voted for him. Say, hey, no, I want to see what Donald Trump's up to. I want to see what he's up to. He seems like someone different. We need change. Evander Holyfield, he was at a lot of the Trump rallies as well. You got all these black athletes backing him.
Yeah, well, you had Sylvester Stallone, going to the White House to give a presidential pardon to that one black boxer from like the 20s.
Yeah,
I think Jack Johnson was his name. Who got like wrongfully convicted of something and ended up getting like a presidential pardon from Trump. So, but yeah, I mean it's very the Trump derangement syndrome thing is weird. So.
And it was all done because of the media. That's the crazy part. And here's the thing, and I'll admit, I kind of like thought about it and thought, what the news is right at the time before I knew better. I thought, okay, what if there's legitimately an issue here? I thought, what if the Russians did? Because you gotta always question yourself. Even me and Comic Division had talked about this many times. We've had our own private conversations there. You always gotta question yourself because if you really believe in your own position, not only do you gotta A, question yourself, but B, you gotta listen to other positions to really challenge your own. And when I didn't know better because I thought Hillary was going to win too. I was shocked when Trump won.
I thought so too. I remember back in 2016, like I had just started college at that point. And I remember I put up like a few signs for Trump, like I did my part, but still I was thinking like Hillary was gonna win. And I remember like thinking like, well, this was fun, but obviously Hillary was going to win. And I stayed up to watch the election thinking that Trump was gonna lose. And then lo and behold, around like 11:30 Eastern, like it started to change. And literally, like when Trump won, like I was so excited. I never went to bed that night. Like I literally stayed up for like 24 hours straight just because I was so amped that he won.
Yeah, it was a shock. And once again, it was the pants caught down. Even people who were not into Trump, but not into Hillary, like this is good because they needed there needed to be a shakeup, especially since 9/11. We've seen what happens when the state tries to get involved with things, and the state has been trying to gain ground and a lot of it on the people since 9/11. And Trump was like, he was the beginning of, holy shit, we did not see this coming. And it was crazy to see. And at the time, I thought they were telling the truth on. But then the more the hysteria went on, that's why I'm like, okay, there's something not right with this picture. And people get mad that I would say this, and I didn't apologize. I just said, no, I'm not gonna apologize for this. There's something not right about it. I didn't know what, but I'm like, I need to figure this out. I'm like, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I'll say it. I don't care. Some people, they care so much about being right that they're willing to lie about being right, and then they'll commit to their lie. Me, if I'm wrong, I own it. I accept it. I dwell on it for 5 minutes, say, fuck, that sucks, but then move on quickly. I'll take the loss and then move on. Because for every loss I gain, I'm going to gain another 10, 20 more. That's just the cycle of life. You're not going to win every single thing.
Yeah.
And with Trump, I noticed with the Russia gate, I'm like, okay, now this shit is way out of hand. And then there's the second impeachment, and then there's the first impeachment, and then there's the bleach thing. I'm like, and then it's when I was discovering the Tim Pool stuff, and in Tim Pool, like, he is, he's bashed Trump, but he's also mentioned when Trump has done right as well. Even if he doesn't agree with a policy or whatever, he'll always say, no, this is not true about Trump. I gave him credit for that, and that's when I started seeing Trump more for what he was between him and Adam Kriegler. And then I learned more into his backstory and how he went by his own logo. He did his own funding separate from the RNC. He was doing things his way. And obviously, he also pissed off the Republican Party, too, because they didn't want him there either. They didn't want him there. They worked with the Democrats to get rid of him. They worked with him. It's just like, it doesn't even matter if you like him or not. You should be happy that he's there just to piss off the establishment. That should be a victory in itself.
Yeah, no, the funniest part of the election that I remember was when the RNC tried to dig up dirt on Trump by like saying he slept with a Playboy playmate.
Stormy Daniels.
No, it was Karen McDougal, actually.
Oh yeah, Karen McDougal. Okay, I stand corrected. See?
And who's still a good looking woman, by the way. But and so the GOP tried to do that, tried to scale that out as like a hit piece. Meanwhile, like, all my friends and I are like in our 20s, so like, we're like, man, Trump hit that. That's just another reason to vote for him. So, yeah. So
he was a godfather. He was a pimp, dude. You're just like, dude, this guy's great. On him.
So, and yeah, Red Shirt is wrong. TDS is a hell of a disease. So,
like, seriously, like, these are all things too that the left should actually be embracing. Like, this is like, well, the things that they were going against for years. This one guy came over, took over their party. It's just like, no, I did this. It was great. It was fantastic. I'd do it again if I could. But instead, I'm here in politics. It's crinkly. It's great. Like, it was like a WWF promo come to life. I remember some people get this isn't wrestling. This isn't funny. Like, are you kidding me? This is hilarious. And it would be great because I would hear all these stories by like Latinos. Like, I may not look it, but like, I'm half Puerto Rican, and I got like a lot of Latino fans that came all from Puerto Rico. Yeah, Latino, whether it's like Puerto Rico, Mexico, they're all just like, well, yeah, we love borders. Like, yeah, we want that too. Like, we love what Trump is doing. And I thought about, like, holy crap, all these Hispanic and Black people, they're like, no, I get what Trump is doing. This is great. I'm like, and that's what got me to rethink my position where I was coming from the left, this echo chamber. Even if I did consider myself apolitical, I was still down the chamber in terms of only one thought existed. Even whether I liked it or not didn't matter. It's just I only thought one thought existed. That's how bad it runs in Chicago.
Yeah, Dragon Master says Trump, the meme lord who became president. And by the way, I'm glad you brought up the whole this isn't WWF, because the thing that people were saying, because anyone who has worked in politics for even a little bit, or I mean, I hate to say it, but politics is exact like pro wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah, you might not have people you might not have people literally like body slamming each other, but like politics is basically like people just like arguing and shouting at each other in like in $1,000 suits, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
those
and
people who are shouting at each other go on and play golf right after.
they do. So
That's the funny part. And so yeah, you're right, Sam. It is just like WWF, not because of Trump, but before Trump, because he like the thing is, and that's the part people don't realize is like they were already doing their shouting matches on the debate stages, acting like they were against each other. They were already acting like it. But then the minute the cameras were off, they were all going hanging out, having their fancy drinks, and then being best friends. And you didn't see Trump at any of that stuff. Even to this day, when Biden got inaugurated, he wasn't there. He didn't go there. He wasn't there for that thing. Like, and they don't invite to any. They still to this day, they don't invite to anything. Like, even all the like, even Fox News, even though they're considered the conservative media, the right wing media, or whatever the word you call it, they're not covering his rallies. It's Newsmax, OANN, and all the RSBN. They're not talking about his rallies that he's doing right now. I've had to, dude. They're not all the big networks are not talking about his rallies at all right now, and yet here Trump is doing this. He's already prepping. He's already prepping for 2024. And even though he's old as fuck, I know that. However, he's very spry. He's still energetic. He's still got the energy. And dude, he has the Undertaker WWF music playing.
he
Before he goes on stage, he has the Undertaker music playing. I laughed so hard with the Undertaker.
He did. Yeah, that is hilarious. Well, I mean, Biden. Biden. The thing about Biden is, I mean, Rogan summed it up perfectly a few weeks ago. Biden doesn't even know where the hell he is half the time. He literally doesn't know what room he's in or where he's in. I mean, it is, as ridiculous as Biden is, it's honestly sad, because I mean, I am convinced that people think I'm just being an ass when I say this, but I'm generally not. I mean, the man has dementia or something, and that's pretty obvious. And a man who has dementia should not be running the country. You know, he should be at home, like, I guess, enjoying his grandkids, or, well, that might not be good either, considering what he allegedly is into, but that's all.
No, look at Warfist's comment. He's right. Biden is observably everything the left said about Trump. Not into politics anymore, but even I can, and that's the truth. It's that they accuse Donald Trump of doing all these things or saying all these things, and all the things they accused him of are the things that they are doing. Because once again, actions speak louder than the words. It's like, oh, Trump's going to do this, Trump's going to do that, but it's just like, you're now doing all those things. And people don't care that he's doing all those things. They're just saying, oh, but he talks nice or he words it nice. So somehow that's okay. And that logic doesn't make sense. Because, like, I just thought to myself, here's what I've said to people. And I'm sorry, I know you're going to mention this, but I had to mention this. Now,
Oh, go
between
ahead.
you and the chat, I have to ask this. Wrong is still wrong. It doesn't matter if you talk nice. If I go to like 7-Eleven per se, I buy all the candy at convenience store. I get some gas. I give them a whole lot of business. But after I give them all that business, I walk up back to the counter inside and I deck the clerk in the face. And I say to him, "Oh, I can do that. I gave you business. I can do that." That's the essential of he talks nice. So you're saying because this person talks nice, he can do whatever he wants. Oh, I gave you business. Therefore, I can still deck you in the face without consequence.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because as Rudge and I discussed last week, that's literally the excuse that people made for Will Smith.
The
With
Will
the
Smith
whole
situation is so complicated. And trust me, I get it with Will Smith. What he did is not right. And I'm not going to ever say what he did was all right. However, that dude is married to Jada Pinkett Smith. And that lady is so far deep into his head.
yeah.
He comes from and if I can't prove it, but if I had to guess, like my gut feeling, I think he's so far deep into his marriage with Jada, I don't even think he realizes right from wrong anymore. He just hears her in his head, and whatever she says is right is is like my word is law type of situation. And I think because of that, the man is mentally damaged in the head. Once again, I could be wrong. That's just my opinion of where I stand on it. I truly believe Will is damaged in the head because of her. She said a few days ago, I never wanted to marry you to begin with. Some people might be like, oh, she said that anger. Bullshit, she did. She's been like this to him for a long time. He has damaged his life. And you saw what happened when the joke was said with Chris Rock. He was laughing about it. Will Smith was laughing. But the minute she made that face, that face, he changed his tune according to her. And I don't want to get into my life relationships, but dude, I've been in a relationship where the lady was the abuser. I have seen it. I've been through it. And what Will Smith is going through, I can emphasis on semi relate. I can semi relate to that. I know where he's come from to a degree. You can be gaslighted very easily, and I think he's being gaslighted. I think he's being played by her, and he's doing a bunch of things that are obviously illogical, but it's almost like his way of taking out his frustration. He doesn't know how to get a relationship. He's so attached to it that he's in fear of getting out. He's also we're in the cancel culture era. He's worried he's be accused of all these things that he didn't. To me, he should just do that anyways, get out and accept it. And if he either doesn't say anything, great, or if he just says, no, this is bullshit, fight like hell, like Johnny Depp is.
Yeah. I mean, Hollywood's whole culture seems, for the most part, weird. I don't know. There's a reason why marriages don't last very long in, in that industry. And I know not to rip off Gary's lingo too much, but they literally are all adult pretenders.
No, almost all of them are. I'm not going to say all of them are. I'm sure there's not. But
Yeah,
the
there are a
problem,
few.
and no, there are a few, but the issue is with a lot of them, the few, is that they're not saying anything. In a perfect world, they shouldn't be saying anything. None of us should. But the issue is because they aren't saying anything, we're in a position now where we have to, otherwise this shit furthers down the well. And I've got a buddy of mine, I'm not gonna mention by name, but he's try to say to me like you shouldn't single out these people like that. I'm like, no, I'm going to. He'll be like, oh, that's not true. And some people will know who I'm talking about. I'm just like, dude, no. Look at Mark Hamill. Look at Chris Evans. Look at God, Mark Ruffalo. Look at even Patrick Stewart. Look at George Takei. Look at obviously Brie Larson. I could go down this list name after name after name after name after name. And you're gonna try to tell me that these celebrities aren't shitty people? Like, sure, I'm not gonna deny that they may work hard at their job. Maybe they do. Most of them probably actually do. And that's up to and including Robert De Niro. But that doesn't mean that they can't be assholes. Two things can be true. These celebrities are pretenders. They are told to say a thing and they repeat the talking point. They don't put any thought into it because they just want to be liked. They're not looking at, is this right? Is this wrong? They're looking at, is this going to give me fame according to what my management or my agent tells me? Okay, fine. I'll just say it. It doesn't matter whether I personally agree with it or not. Few actually do that. And she wants open marriage. I mean, yeah, oh, I know. And she does. And he's not speaking out against it. And he needs it. And here's the sad part, too. I mean, I'm not black, obviously. But from what I've listened to from people in the black community, they say this sets the black man back. What some said. So I want to say no, one size fits all. But I've seen a few say this sets them back because they're seeing as that they're now seeing it in a bad light because this is what they do. I'm not looking at it from that end. I'm not looking at it even from the celebrity end. I'm looking at it from the cultural perspective of abuse.
Right.
Well, celebrities should not be looked up to. And just because I feel that way doesn't mean that everyone else does. I've learned that a lot of people look up to what celebrities do. And when a lot of men, whether it's white, black, whatever, they see Will Smith, they see him backing down to Jada Pinkett Smith, they're going to think that that's normal. They're going to think that's just part of being in a marriage or a relationship
Yep.
that a lady could control you like that. And you just got to accept it and take it. Will Smith has the position to change that, saying, no, don't tolerate abuse. He is in a position right now where he can say, listen, abuse towards men exists, but he's not doing it. Right now, he's in the perfect position to show that abuse towards men exists. He is the biggest, he's one of the biggest celebrities on the planet. He is the perfect name you can use towards that. And he's not doing it. And he's in that mode of fear because he's worried about the cancellation, or I'm a man. It's my word against a woman's word. There's so much going against him. Once again, he should still do it anyways. If I was in his position, I would. Someone's going to be like, oh, that's easy for you to say. Yeah, it is easy for me to say. That's why I'm saying it. Because when I broke up with one of my girlfriends who knew everyone in the Chicago area, is my word against hers, I still fought back anyways. And only 2 people believed me when the breakup happened. Only 2 people. And those are 2 friends of mine closest to me. You want to know what happened a year later? No one believed her anymore. But who they ended up believing over time? Me. Because eventually everything came out. The facts came out.
So back up real quick. So you're essentially saying that that you yourself were in an abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to get into the well of sympathy for me. I don't care about that shit.
Yeah, no,
but
that's fine.
I have experienced it. I had one of them try to swing a tray full of glass dishes at me, and I dodged it. Yeah. When you hear the word glasses involved, that's not a pretty word.
Yeah.
Luckily, I dodged it, but you can't imagine what would happen if I didn't. What if I didn't dodge that? it's not. It paints a very gruesome image.
Yeah.
So I have seen it. I've been through it, and it doesn't say that makes me a saint or makes me perfect. It's just I have
What?
I have been gaslighted. I've been manipulated. I've experienced a lot of what is happening to Will Smith are to a degree things that I've witnessed to a large extent.
Sure. Well, I mean, and I don't want to put like word. Well, let me just ask you this, so I don't have to put words in your mouth. But what do you think about the Me Too movement? Because to me, at least from my perspective, it seems like it started out with like kind of like a a it seemed like it was noble at first with like calling out
Mhm.
Harvey Weinstein and like the actual predators in Hollywood. But then it seemed to kind of devolve into, not evolve, but devolve being the key word. Just going after any man for whatever reason. Um,
Mhm.
so, do you have any perspective on that?
Let me think here. So when I learned about the Me Too movement, I was living in leftist echo chamber Chicago. What I thought at the time was okay, maybe this is good. Maybe like there's people who need to be outed who've done this for a long time. They got away with it. And I thought, okay, that's a good thing. But I didn't really think much after that, after the movement was making headlines and waves. So I thought, okay, there's some good being done. Some people are gonna be held accountable. That's great. My issue did not happen until around 2020, 2021 with the Andrew Cuomo stuff. Where was that movement then? Where is that movement to talk about it? Where is that movement to say? And that's when I realized, wow, I got played. That was a politically motivated movement, and they're only talking about it from one angle again. Like,
Yeah,
once again, if you're into something, regardless of your position, commit to it. Obviously, once in a rare while, exceptions do exist. But the issue is, and I know I've said those words a lot, the issue is a lot of things are more cut and dry than people like to say or believe. The greatest like problem with that issue is that they want to complicate the truth. They hate the truth, so they think maybe if I could outrun it or if I can outsmart it, I can make it seem more complicated than it actually is, just so I can at least get people to sympathize or empathize with my position, so I think I can justify my actions. But they want to paint it into a gray area. So every now and then, yes, exceptions do exist, but they're not as prominent as many want us to be led to believe. Or if anything, to me, the gray area positions are actually very rare. I actually believe more positions are more black and white than people believe. They just got the
yeah.
media to back their position to make it seem gray area than it actually being gray area. And I've had many people say to me, Nick, you're so cut and dry. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the point. I
Well,
don't want you to take what I say, interpret it into what you want. When I make it cut and dry, it makes it so you can't say, "Oh, I imagine this, or I interpret this." It's no, you can't, because if you do, you are proving my point that you're trying to interpret what I say.
we live in a world where things just get. I mean, and I'm glad you say that because I'm kind of. We live in a world where everything has to be quote unquote complicated, right? And I mean, in certain cases, yeah, that might be true. But I mean, on the other hand, there are things that are still very straightforward in my book.
Uh huh.
And I mean, I think abuse is kind of like one of those things. Like the Harvey Weinstein thing seemed pretty straightforward to me and to everyone else, but then you get into this whole minutia of other, Me Too, victims, quote unquote, and it became a media circus like everything else. So once it started trending on social media, it was kind of doomed. So
No. Yeah. Once again, this is before I knew about how manipulated the trending stuff could be. But I truly thought the movement was a genuine thing.
oh yeah, so did I.
And dude, I'll even admit it. Even a few days ago, I thought the Gretchen Whitmer situation was legit. And this has come from someone who had already not liked her. I already couldn't stand her. My position
Mm,
was I can't stand her, but trying to kidnap someone like that isn't right because it paints people like us to look bad. But then you end up finding out that that's a hoax too. So you're just like frustrated because it's like the rare time where you actually take the news's word for it. The rare time, the time where like, okay, this actually seems plausible, like there's something there, and they still get it wrong. They still get it wrong. They still fuck it up. Like the minute you actually try to be objective and think, okay, maybe there could be something here. You try to see from the other end. Nope. Nope. I should have known. And I'll admit that. I got played by that. Like whether it was Russiagate, whether it was Nick Salmon, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Rittenhouse, Jesse Smollett, like Hunter Biden laptop. And now we got the Gretchen Whitmer entrapment. Like, how many things do the news need to lie about till people realize like the news is not the place to go to. They are not the legitimate source because I want to know who deemed these outlets as this is who you need to trust. I want to know who is the human being that decided, oh, you need to trust these people. These are the legitimate outlets. Because if I piece one thing together, the left loves being deemed as legitimate. They thrive up being the position of the perception is on our side of it's our word against yours. You can't go against us because we're deemed legit. You're just deemed the Joe Schmo. So the perception leans our way. And this is why the left need to be robbed and stripped of their legitimacy power. They need to have that shit removed from them because they have taken over every single, if not every single, major institution and put their ideology all over it. And in partial thanks to the right for that. And yet they want to go on and talk about how they're the marginalized or the oppressed, but yet they're doing everything that the state abides by. All of this shit is so convoluted. It's more confusing than any X-Men time travel story.
yeah, and those can get pretty confusing. So, yeah, I mean, and the left has just picked up some very like obscure. I don't even want to call them causes because they're not. But I mean, like critical race, you know, theory. Like, I will say that like critical race theory, I hate it, but at the same time, I do love it in the sense that like it's just so nuts that like even normal people have like begun to realize like how insane it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that was one thing I had on Matt from Foulball Productions like a few weeks ago, and that was like one of the things that he mentioned. That was like his big political awakening
Mm-hmm.
was CRT. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah,
so
CRT is fucking psychotic.
yeah, it absolutely is. Would you mind if would you mind entertaining chat for a bit as I run to the restroom?
Go ahead.
I
You-
also I also sent I also posted an invite to the stream um to anyone in the Gilded server. So if anyone wants to jump in who's already in there,
Mhm.
uh, feel free to. I think
Mhm.
so. I'll be right back. Hold on a sec.
Oh, hello, chat. How you going? I see Red Shirt and Boosh having a talk, a little discourse over Larissa. No, that's a good conversation to have, man. I mean, challenge each other over your opinions. Hey, and Boosh says hi, Nick. No, dude, I think it's safe to say. I mean, you guys are just having a convo. I wouldn't. It's the internet at the end days. At the end of the day, just see it as a conversation. I see it as a discourse just because it's two different positions. That's what I see it as. Two different positions doesn't mean that you hate each other. It's just you have two opposite positions and you're discussing it. That's what I see out of it. So, no, discourse away, my friend. I love seeing it. We gotta have these conversations. It's good. It's healthy for the mind. Bush McFadden's educated me. And, and there's nothing wrong with being educated on the law, dude. Nothing wrong with that. So I sometimes forget people can hear. Yeah, Bush, that's the thing with the internet. Like, people will read things, but it's hard to imagine what the tonality of the conversation is. So they wonder, what is the person actually saying? Is it coming from a, I don't know, happy voice or just a general voice or an angry voice? It's hard to tell. And there's a lot of things that can be interpreted a million ways. So you're good, dude. You're good. Like, don't stress about it. You know what's funny is Sam mentioned he needed to go away, and now I feel like I need to go away, but because I need to pee again. But I'm gonna hold the fort down until he comes back, and we're gonna switch it out because that is what heroes do. That is, and I see Pope Metallicus. Oh, 70s is doing this live stuff. Nick Weiser, what do you think about that train station bombing in Ukraine? No opinions just yet. I'm waiting for more information to come out before I have thoughts on it. I'm waiting for far, far, far more to come out before I have, because if I learn one thing with the China virus, um, wait. Wait for information. Once a while, of course, I'm guilty of commenting right away. I am. I'm not exceptional, but mostly I just wait now because, once again, Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace. I actually thought there was merit to the Bubba Wallace situation, not the Jussie one, but Bubba. I'm like, huh. I'm like, maybe there's something here. And then you see that it's all fucking fake. So, oh well. Yeah, I'll wait and then I'll comment it on it. But boy, do I gotta pee, man. I gotta pee. I see you guys there's still 7 in here. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me and Mr. Sam here. It's a pleasure to be on here for 2.5 hours. Talk about the craziness of the world, the YouTube of the world. It's good stuff. And I see Bush says, I saw the CNN, MSNBC, and ABC reports. Looks awesome. Warfus says, fuck Bubba Wallace. I hope he stubs his toe super hard. Sorry for Flatland. You're good, man. I kind of figure you're saying toe. It's okay. When I look at typos, like errors of the spelling, I always try to imagine what was that individual trying to say. And I'd say about 7, 8 times out of 10, I usually figure it out. And when I'm right, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, well, whoever's in the chat or someone just corrects me on it. But yeah, I kept saying fuck Bubba Wall. So, but and that's the problem. The news outlets, they're considered the go-to place. They're considered the trusted source. Or how can you go against them? They are the legitimate source. How could you do that? Bush says you're wrong, Nick. What am I wrong about? Bubba Wallace? Or the fact that I gotta pee?
I am back now. So
All right. Awesome. Because we got to rotate because now I got to pee.
okay.
I'll be back. I promise. I'll be quick.
No problem, man. Okay, in the meantime, while we're doing that, okay, well, some of you guys are on mobile, so if you guys are listening to this on mobile, you guys, I guess, can, uh, you guys can kind of pee on the go, I guess. But yeah. Oh, Hail Dragon, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Boosh McFadden for subscribing in. Let me check real quick. I believe we have a um we have a we do have a super chat that came in, so let me see. Let me see what that was all about. Okay. Now let's go to Streamlabs. Okay. Yes, I want to. Okay. Oh. Oh, we've got another one here. It just says that Josh McFadden subscribed. Okay, very cool. Don't know why there was a delay, but we had another super chat earlier. So,
All right. How you doing?
pretty good. We had a well, they're not called super chats, but I guess we had a donation
Ooh.
earlier. So, let's
Nice.
see. So let's see here.
Here are some shekels. Keep up the awesome content, Brachacho.
That was from ET Templar 2 hours ago. He said, "Here are some shekels. Keep up the awesome content."
You set up another one.
Well, thank you, ET Templar. Appreciate that. So, and if anyone wants to donate, streamlabs.com/the Whitfield Report. I really try not to do the whole, I try not to show too much because e-begging is kind of, can be weird, but I appreciate it, and I see more people have been joining the Gilded server as well.
Who said, Dick, why did you wash your hands? Yes, I did. I went to go pee.
We both did.
And I went to get some breadsticks that were ready for me, courtesy of the missus.
So.
And they're bloody good, by the way. Actually, that they're Bosco sticks.
Really, those are from Costco.
Probably. I love Costco.
I tend to like Kirkland stuff too, especially Kirkland brand Me Seeks. So,
oh yeah.
That's a Rick and Morty reference. So
okay. I still to this day haven't watched Rick and Morty. Maybe I need to.
I mean, the first 3 seasons or so were good. They've kind of gone a little woke, but not bad, I guess. So,
Got a little woke, but not that.
but
That's
yeah, I don't know. So you said you have toxic. You said you have Toxic Tuesdays. And then
yes. Comic shop talk on Friday night.
yeah,
So yeah, let's get into that. Friday night I had the comic shop talk, and how I started this was obviously I've been a big comic book, junkie for many years of my life, and I knew I wanted to do another stream, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm a big comic guy. Why don't I talk about comic books on my channel? And it was hard to pick out another time slot because no matter what time you try to set, there's always someone else streaming. So you just kind of roll with the
yeah,
punches and go for it. Like when I do Toxic Tuesday, there's the main event going on at Geeks and Gamers, and that's fine. I'm like, if you really believe in what you do, go, just go at the same time the big guys are going. And I start the comic shop talk at the tail end of when FNT is going and when Friday Night Frolics from Doomcock is starting. So I get that going, and it's more of like kind of the opposite of Toxic Tuesday in the sense that everyone's toxic, loud, and being super crazy. Whereas the comic shop talk is more of a chill stream. It's kind of like when you go to a comic shop and you're just all sitting back and talking, discussing things, except via the internet. And
yeah.
that's just where that is. It's like being at a comic shop, but except on the internet. And that is now on 46 plus episodes. We're closing in on 50 real soon. It's a different vibe. If as Raquel Briggs would like to say, if Toxic Tuesday is a loud, crazy, chaotic FM radio, Comic Shop Talk is the more relaxed AM radio. That's
Huh.
definitely that's the chill stream is the Comic Shop Talk. And I try to make these two streams, and it's funny because as I mentioned earlier, Toxic Tuesday, that was an accident because I originally started, and Redshirt would remember this. It started off as 32 Flavors of Entertainment. And that name was just obviously just an expansion off my actual YouTube name. And with the YouTube name, it was pretty standard. We were talking about everything like everyone else. We were talking about what's going on in pop culture. My issue was with those. I was talking about it all day, every day, everywhere I went, whether it was in
Yeah.
person or every other stream on YouTube. It was just like I was talking about so much, just like I need like balance my mind mentally. So when I started Toxic Tuesday, it was supposed to just be like a month or two. It was supposed to be something like that. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do this as a temporary thing, just to balance my mind, put it at ease. And then it ended up becoming, well, the thing that it's become today, where it's taking on a life of its own. And it's great. Like Toxic Tuesday has really become a whole other beast. The fact that it was this accident, this temporary thing, now it's this thing that's here to stay is glorious. I absolutely love it, and people love it, and people have responded to it very well. Bruce McFadden, obviously, I discovered from the Midnight's Edge live chats. It's great that it's taken on its life, and it's been. I mean, a lot of the streamers, Geeks and Gamers, Neurotic, Young Ripa, whatever, they're all considered the alternative to the big outlets, whether it's Vox or BuzzFeed or Forbes or CNN or Fox, whatever you want to name. If those guys are the alternative, I'm the alternative to the alternative, because
Right.
those things are talking about what's going on in the culture, which I'm not saying it doesn't need to be discussed. It absolutely does. But we need to have 5 minutes in our life to not talk about it. And this is me providing that extra outlet. And I've had people come to my chats, whether it's FNF or FNT, right? I need to get away for a bit just so I can hear something fun for 5 minutes, and it's great.
Well, the odd thing is right. I'm kind of even though I've like been doing politics for a while, like I'm new, I guess, in this particular corner of the internet. You know, the fandom or the fandom menace or whatever you want to
Call it.
whatever you want to call whatever you want to call our corner. I'm kind of the new guy, and I guess I'm like the semi political guy here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of what I'm here for. But I mean, one of the reasons why I like your streams among other streams is in a lot of those bigger streams like FNT and Nerdrotics, and I love those, but some of those they just have so many people, it's like hard to get noticed unless you're sending super chats, and even then, it can kind of be a bit, hard to get noticed. But with like the smaller channels, it's nice because you can actually like talk to people, and
Yeah, it's more intimate.
the host will actually, you know, interact with the chats. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
no, and that's a good point. Like, I get it. Obviously, FNT is very busy. You got a full panel, 10
oh yeah.
people. You got 10,000 and now 12,000 people. I remember when I discovered erotic is probably on average 4 to 5,000. Now
Yeah.
we're at 10 to 12,000. Like, that escalated quickly, and it's just like, and especially like some people have super towering super chats, which is awesome for Gary, but I want to send something and it doesn't get read, and then I have to catch it on the square up because when I catch FNT, I'm lucky to catch it live. And I have to emphasize the word lucky because being a dad and a boyfriend and being at home all day, like I got a lot to do at home.
Right,
So when I
right.
get to catch FNT, whatever bits I catch, I'm very lucky, and that's many hours of FNT. And then there's a lot of super chats being flown in between then from when it starts
Yeah.
until the end. I can't just tune into another 6 hours or 3 hours to catch a scrap. And like I said, good for Gary. That's no diss or disrespect. Happy for him. Making money is good. Make all that money. It's just I'm not in a position where I can always catch those things. I wish I
Yeah.
was, but I'm not. I don't have that type of life.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing, and I'm not even saying anything against George or anything like that, but I can't send in like three $100 super chats and either. I'm not in that position
Hmm.
either.
George
To
is
be
a
able
great
to.
guy, by the way. I met George in
Oh
person.
yeah,
Stellar guy.
really.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to get in touch with Jay Drunk 3PO because I mean he's in Florida and I'm in Florida too, although I think I think he's a little more towards the panhandle than I am, maybe.
Drunk's a good
But
guy. I met him in person as well. And good man. A little hard to get a hold of sometimes, but super good dude. Super good dude. He
yeah.
does a lot of humanitarian work too. So
No,
it's not like he's not busy.
I know. Jay's awesome that way. So,
Hmm.
um but yeah, no, but honestly, I mean that's why I like having the smaller creators on too, is because I mean you guys need help with promotion too and whatnot. So
Oh yeah, we help each other out, man. That's the fun of this. We help each other out, and if we can get someone to listen to us, that's even bigger for us because you could obviously be listening to a lot of great streams. There's probably, if I had to look into it, I'm sure there's a bunch of great streams from big neighbors going on right now, and that's fine, man. I get it. I'm a fan too of a lot of the big channels. I get it. I'm not gonna bash people for making that decision. I never will. I get it. I'm sure I'm guilty of it to some extent, But it's definitely a nice feeling when people choose the small stuff like us. It's like I don't expect it or require it ever, and I never will. But hey, thank you for choosing us, and that's how I
The
feel with Tuesday night with Toxic Tuesday, and then there's the main event. It's like, dude, hell yeah, thank you for choosing us. You had every right to go to watch the main event. I probably would have done the same thing, but you chose us, so thank you. And I think Bush says he's heading out to go listen to that 70s rock fan do his radio show. Take care, Bush.
yeah. Have you considered doing a podcast, doing like an audio version, like even if it's just like ripping streams and like putting them on like Spotify or something?
Yes.
Be- because that is something that I do with this show. Like, this show was originally just a podcast, and now it's both. Like, I have both audio and video, and I mean, my interesting enough, the podcast numbers are a lot bigger than YouTube. So
One day. I mean, I'd love to. Seriously, I want to do that. It's just I need to find a time where I can have. If my thing is, if I'm going to commit to something like that, I want to have a consistent time. And I want to make sure it's something that I can get away with, be in a position where I know I can book weekly. Because, like, I've booked for Toxic Tuesday, and I've got a long list of people who want to be on. Mostly smaller channels, which is fine. I get it. Small channel wants to make its name around, make the rounds. I've been there, so I totally get it, and I do my best to try to get people on who've not had a chance. I also have a very well set panel of mostly regulars, so it's just like how do I got to manage the regulars while also trying to bring in one newcomer,
yeah,
and then once in a while trying to bring on a big name. And bringing on the big names is a little more challenging on my end. I've actually I'm not gonna put names out there, but have had more declines than I've had acceptance.
me
Then I've had some feud that I've not.
me too,
I
me
just
too,
never got a
man.
response from, which some people are legitimately busy. Like that, some I truly believe I know for a fact are legitimately busy, and that's fine too. I get it. Like if you got and if those are people who are literally not appearing on any airstreams but their own because they also have a life. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
And then there's names like Tom Connors or Quarter Black Garrett or Comics Division. For every name I get turned down, I get names like them who pop up, and it's great when I can get those guys to come on, and I'm always grateful for the time. And I mean, also because of Comics Division, I'm lucky I have my channel where it's at, and I truly feel like it elevated because of him. Because like, yeah, Jake D gave me my breakthrough. Latino Slang Clobbering Times, brought me around to a few extra people, but it was Comics Division that really he's probably the main culprit that helped escalate my name. Because here's the thing, it's kind of like starting a YouTube channel is like being in a local band. You
oh
got your
yeah,
friends.
yeah, yeah,
You got your friends listening to. Most of your friends, most of them are gonna inherently like you because they already like you. So they kind of already don't see things objectively. They just says, "Well, of course I like you. You're my friend." They're not gonna be as honest. Some may actually feel that way. If they do, that's great. But most people are just gonna say, "Well, I'm gonna support my friend because he's my friend." So of course I like him off the bat. Comics Division, you're stepping into a whole other ballpark, and people are going to now judge you for you a bit more objectively. Like there's usually 150 to 200, sometimes even 250 listening live on Yelling at Park Cars on Monday night. Someone's going to say in the chat they don't like you. Someone's going to say it, and
oh
they're going
yeah.
to be more
I've gotten that.
upfront and honest with you because it's people are going to see you more objectively. You're not dealing with people who already know you. But in a way, that's good though. I want to have that, and I've gained a lot of subs, most of my subs, because of being a regular on Yelling. And I'd say also Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge After Dark as well. Tom has been very fortunate to not only let me on Tuesday nights, but also to come on and he's basically like a semi-regular on Toxic Tuesday. Because the only reason why, if he can't do it, because either A, he somehow has not watched the movie in a while, or B, he's got so much going on in the main Midnight's Edge channel. So it's like,
That's
Tom, I get
awesome.
it. I get it, Tom. You're busy. Don't you owe me no apologies if you can't come on, Tom. Like, if you can't come on because you have a reason to. Tom's on like 800 streams a day. If you need a rest for a stream, it just
Yeah.
happens to be mine. I'm not gonna get mad at you, dude. I'm never gonna get mad at Tom's. Tom was definitely another one too. And those are the best streams to be on, because those are, especially in the age of shadow banning, the best way to get your exposure is to traditionally word of mouth. Because once again,
Oh
you being
yeah.
the
Oh
YouTuber,
yeah.
the small YouTuber, once again, it's like being a local band. When you're on the big YouTuber channel, that's like opening for the touring band. You gotta use your voice to appeal to that many more voices out there who may have normally not gone out of their way to either A, listen to you, whether it's because they just didn't, or B, because of shadow banning and the algorithms. So now you have your chance to prove yourself to an audience that would have never heard of you. And because of guys at Comics and Tom, even Quarter Black Eric, because I was on Let's Talk with Garrett a few months ago. We're opening a link back up soon. I get to have people judge me more objectively, and I've had some hecklers. Luckily, not many. I've had
Oh
very
yeah.
few.
No, believe me, I've gotten plenty of trolls. I'm used to, what what I always say too is, great. Not everyone is gonna like everyone.
Nope.
That's
And that's fine.
fine.
That's fine. You can't please everyone. Don't try to please everybody.
You can't even. The one thing the one thing I'll tell you too, and I mean I'm sure you've already figured this out, is you can't even please your own audience, all the time too.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. So,
Mm-hmm.
especially like, my show where like 1 week it will be like heavily political, and then the next week it'll be like more like comic book and entertainment type
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, it's just not, you know, you can entertain everyone some of the time, but you can't entertain everyone all the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, well, and actually, I don't know that much about, like, I've seen Comics Division on FNT, but I don't actually know that much about Comics Division himself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or the or themselves. It's just one guy, right?
Yeah, Comics is one guy. He's a great channel, by the way. He's almost at 10K subs. He got his. He originally, from what I recall, and I could be wrong here, so take what I say with a grain of salt. He originally was on like Steve Englentine. I love comics. That guy. He was original and all that stuff. He also got to know Gary of Nerdrotic that way. So when the original incarnation of FNT started, there was Gary, Comics Division, Odin's Movie Blog. That was one of the earlier, if not original incarnations. That's why Odin and comics are always a part of it. Like, even if they show up late, because
Ah,
they are the originals. Comics also has a very serious job outside of his YouTube channel. Like, he's told me his job, and I'm not going to say it on public, but he's a very serious job where he's in a management level position. So when he's coming on FNT, he's
so,
coming from the workplace.
uh, and I'm assuming that's also why he's anonymous too, somewhat.
Yeah,
Then,
why he doesn't have his real name out? Yes. Yes, he does.
yeah,
For a while, a long time, he didn't have his face out in the world. He started unveiling his face a few years ago, because he's been around here for like 5 or 6 years. But it wasn't until like 2 years ago, maybe two and a half, where he showed off his face.
which
So
I
he was anonymous for a long time.
which was around the time I started to kind of dip my toe into this corner of the internet. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Nah, Thomas is a good
um,
guy, great guy, one of the best guys I've ever gotten to know. Super loyal guy, and I will owe that man for the rest of my life, for real.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's awesome, dude. It's awesome that you've been able to, chat with someone who, has been able to help you out so much. And I mean, that's awesome when you can find bigger creators like that. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No,
um,
I'm that man. What a guy.
so
So
yeah.
red shirt too. Red shirt. What a guy.
Oh yeah, Red Shirt is awesome. I mean, I'm surprised that Red Shirt doesn't have a channel of his own yet because
He should.
he should, and I mean he's I see him in almost every stream I'm in chat. So I call him the internet's moderator. So um just because he's great at that. So
No, him, Eric K, Lord Thoth, great moderators. We're thankful for their service. D Bud Martin as well. All great guys. Wouldn't know what we do without them because seriously, they keep our shows from the bots coming around. Toxic Man Flu as well. Great guys. Well, Tox I met in person recently. Yeah, we're lucky we have this great scene of people, whether it's panelists, whether it's people who just want to hang out and chat, whether people who want to be moderators. There's so many endlessly great faces around here. It's an ocean of great human beings. And the fact that everyone just wants to step in and do a part, it's like we require or expect it. The fact that they just do it makes it that much more
yeah.
valuable.
So, well, and I'm basically willing to have anyone, from the space on the show. So,
Mm, good.
um,
No, you should, dude. I mean,
so
many more faces you can get on. Yeti Cast. There's also Mr. Grant Gregory.
oh yeah,
Sir Talks a Lot, Culture Casino, West Moody Webcast. Dude, there's so many people on there. I'm sure you now know me and Matt. You just communicate, and most people will do it. The only reason why someone wouldn't do it is because they legitimately like can't do anything like on Saturday nights, which some don't like, and that's fine. But
yeah,
most
no,
people will do it.
yeah, no, I know it's a bit of a weird time slot. Well, I mean, I also do Thursday shows too, but generally those are just pre-recorded, and then I premiere those on
Mhm.
YouTube instead of live stream them. But well, anyway, I mean, it's been about 3 hours, and so it's been a good show. I mean, I'm good to talk off air, but too, if you want. But I think we ought to wrap this up. So, anything that you'd like to promote, before we close this out?
Yes, sir. I've got a few things. So I'm going to post my link in the chat. I've got a Gilded in case anyone catches the replay. That is my Gilded account. And I'm going to open up on Brave for my BitChute. I've got a few BitChute exclusives. So I would like for people to head on there and check out what I have to offer on BitChute. And so let me have so I posted Gilded. Now here's my BitChute.
I
BitChute.
I
I'm gonna write
will
that.
I'll post those in the show notes too for after it archives. So
Yeah. And so, anyways, let's see here to promote our upcoming things. Obviously, I'm on Yelling at Park Cars on Monday night with Comics Division, the Dix Division. Tuesday night will be Toxic Tuesday. We'll be talking the Big Lebowski, and there's a comic shop talk on Friday
oh
night.
oh
Yeah, the Big
shit, the
Lebowski
big
is
the
huge.
Big Lebowski. I've dude, I unless you already have that booked up, I have to be on that one because
Hmm.
that's my all-time favorite co- is
It's a
this
great movie.
is this your homework, Larry?
Nah, it's an all time. I think we might be full, but let me get back to you on that. If it isn't, then yeah, I'll get you on. If it's full, we'll figure out another flick to get you on sooner, much
Yeah,
rather than later, and that's a promise.
I'm flexible. I have a few that like no one has. I have a few flicks that not too many people have seen either. That some of you might
Good.
like.
No.
They're very toxic. So
Good. No, that's what we want. Sounds like you'll be a very welcome addition. And Richard posted my link in the chat. Thank you for posting that. And I'll have a review on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 coming out, which just came out. Sorry. I'll have that review up, and I'll be talking a bit about the Northman movie as well. That should be great. And I'll be having a fun pizza video that will be make its round around the bit shoots as well. So those are the things coming up on my end. Pleasure to meet the new faces in the chat, and also nice to see the familiar faces. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and Sam. Sam is a great guy, and I look forward to communicating with him much more in the future. And to that, I say you all have a great night, and thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes, and same to you, Nick. I mean, I know this is the first. I mean, I know we've chatted and guilded a few times. Like this is the first time we've really talked. It's an honor to meet you, and like as with everyone in this community, it's been really great to kind of. I mean, I always joke that I'm semi-politically retired, even though I'm not. But it's nice to kind of go back into my roots of nerdiness and fandom. So it's just been great to connect with all of you and everyone else here. Chat is awesome as always. Warfist, Whiskey, Steely, all the regulars who pop in. We're thankful to have you. Hopefully, Apex Game will be back soon. I know he's dealing with some family issues right now, but we'll have him back. And for all the new people in chat, thanks for everyone who contributed in chat, and thanks to everyone who subscribed and donated as well. So take care, and God bless, and God save this great nation. God, freedom, democracy, in that order, and we'll see you on the next show.
Goodbye. Have a great one, folks. See you all soon.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy, in that order.